Now we're live, I think. Trying to figure out. Hi everybody, hopefully we're live right now. We're still trying, Corey's trying to teach me. He's figured it out, but he's trying to teach me how to do it. So it has been like a week now since we have, almost 10 days since we've done anything or gone live. Our day jobs got us doing a lot of extra stuff, so we've been busy. Oh, hey Katie, I love that Katie's on here. Oh, I gotta turn down my hearing aids. Those just got loud. So.
Hello, sister.
Yeah, hey everybody. We decided we would do a live and just catch up with everyone since we've been so busy with our day jobs. And it is freezing in Utah today. And so I've already been out and about in the snow. It's like a snow sleet type of day. And so
And I'm too cheap to turn up the heat, so we got jackets on.
So we're both over here freezing, trying to stay warm. Hopefully everyone else is warm. Hi Kimberly, hi Gina, hi Mama T, Caroline, oh it's Caroline probably, Lashin. Hello, you are early for Whiskey Wednesday. Guess it's Tequila Tuesday. Oh, I actually had accidentally scheduled a live for tomorrow, and so I had to hurry and redo it because I thought I had scheduled it for today. We had thought about going live tomorrow too, but Corey might be in some closings and stuff like that, so we're just not sure if we can make that happen. But yeah, it's been a long couple of weeks. We've been doing the rewatch and then making videos on that, and we actually just finished the like the special at the end of it, and then the honeymoon. And oh my gosh, I literally have 4 pages of notes to talk about of everything that we did on that. So we're going to be talking about that too. But yeah, it is freezing. My hands are actually so cold right now. I should probably put a blanket on my lap. But yeah, so we just thought.
Very warm in Australia. I bet it is. You guys, I think it's their summer.
Yeah,
there.
your summer now, isn't it? That's awesome. Yeah, I'll take a little bit of tequila just to keep me warm right now because it's so cold. Yeah, so for weeks plus inside, our snow is long gone. Ankle, oh, yep, Caroline had a rolled ankle there. Oh, somebody says, I'm genuinely enjoying your video so much. Thank you. Yeah, we kind of have been we're both in real estate, and it's been great around these parts lately, so we have not had a chance we do these videos when we can get to them. So yeah, and we're going to start making, so Corey is not always a man of many words, and if he is, he's a man of many, 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 many words to try to get to a point. So we're going to try to get Corey to talk a little bit more, since everyone's like, let the man speak. He just doesn't always have a lot to say.
I was waiting.
You what?
I was waiting for more people to come on to start speaking more. So I'm reading. I can't speak and read at the same time. So
yeah,
I haven't been on a live for quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So
you and Emily did the last one, right?
Yeah, well, you were in the background making as much noise as you possibly could have made. Yes, I was. We're in a bedroom, or in our son's old bedroom, and he actually dropped the closet door while we were on live and was trying to fix it. So it was nuts. But yeah, so we have been going after this last week. We watched all of the, we kind of had a medical emergency in our family, so we weren't able to go live with my mom in town. And so we just have been dealing with that, and then watching all the season 1. We busted through season 1, and both of us are like, ooh, do we really want to keep going with this? Because it's not really, I don't know. It's not really. It just
gives us some post-traumatic stress syndrome. I've been away from the AUB for more years than I was ever a part of it. So when we're watching it and it's getting in there, it kind of brings up some childhood traumas or growing up in it, where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even stand watching these people and the dogma and all that stuff. So I just get frustrated watching it. So I then have to take some time and watch something brain numbing.
But what did we watch though? Last night we watched the Ruby Franke.
Oh my gosh.
And we watched that entire series last night. And It's nuts for us because we know people who consistently take religion and change and take it to the most fanatical point possible. And so we didn't know anything about Ruby Frank. We haven't followed the story. We literally know nothing. And then someone watched it, and they were like, "You need to go watch this Ruby Frank documentary." And so we did the whole thing. And then we went and got in the hot tub, and we dissected the whole thing for an hour. Going, what do we want to do?
All it kind of showed to me was these extreme religions or these belief systems attract extremists.
Mm-hmm.
And so most religions are like, no, that's not us. No, we don't go to but there are extremists within the LDS Church, within the AUB, that take stuff way too literal.
Well, so, it's almost like they take it so literal and then they put their own twist on it and their own meaning on it.
And if you don't agree with them, then you're the enemy.
Right.
And that's the sad part about it. Well, just because I don't agree with everything that you believe in, that's your belief system, enjoy it. I don't agree with it. Well, then you're the enemy, and unfortunately then you need to be starved out, or what. It was disturbing. So disturbing to say the least.
Somebody says she always figured Corey had plenty to say, but not much of it's nice.
Yeah.
No cloak of charity.
This is the truth there.
That's probably very true. I feel like I have a lot more charity for people.
Well, and I just gotta explain. I'm a slow, methodical thinker and speaker, and Melanie's very quick at things, and so we had a little party the other night.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
And
it's
going to be
time.
Cool. It's going to be cool because she's going to give me a courtesy laugh. Watch this. So, but we had a little party. Everybody dressed up. I've got my little king outfit in there. People were coming over to the house, and I was welcoming them at the front door. And all of a sudden, door knocks. I go walk to the front door, and there's a couple there, and he's giving her a piggyback ride. But I don't recognize them at all. I'm like, yeah, who are you guys? This is a costume party. I don't have a clue who you are. And he was like, oh, I'm a snail, and this is Michelle. And see, that's how I tell the joke. Melanie's a lot quicker, and so she usually tells jokes like snail, Michelle. There you go. She tells a punchline very, very quickly, and I'm slower at it. So looking for the courtesy laugh. No courtesy laugh. It's a good joke. I really enjoy it. So my son sent it to me, and
stupidest joke ever. Dumbest joke ever, and he's been telling this joke nonstop for a week now. To see,
I've been refining it for you guys,
and
so you're welcome.
We don't get a lot of hate online, but if we do, it's like, I love constructive feedback, or constructive, like, hey, here's some feedback you guys could work on. One of the things is I talk over Corey. That happens a lot, right? And so Corey's like, we need to make a video that says, so when you've lived with this man as long as I have, or his kids have, he starts to tell a joke like that. Yeah, somebody says you got to deliver the punchline at two times the speed, because the rest of us are just like, okay, get to the point. Okay, and he drags these stories out forever. And so then I'm like, all right, on to the next thing. Let's go. Come on. And so it's not that I'm meaning to cut him off. It's just if you live with him long enough, then you're like, okay, we got to get to the point here, because he loves to hear himself talk. So, but yeah, let's see. It's called Frankie. The last name is Frankie, so it's Ruby. Because did I say Frank? Oh. Ruby Frank, but it's Ruby Frankie. Yeah, and being in Utah, we heard this story. Now you're getting warm?
Yeah.
Oh, probably because the lights are on. Mm-hmm. But we never really, I never followed her YouTube page, and B, we didn't follow the story when it came out. But I think Jody Hildebrandt, I started to look into her a little bit, because unfortunately in Utah, I don't know what it is with Utah, and like, hey, I'm a life coach all of a sudden. Hey, I'm this all of a sudden. Hey, and so then people think that that they can go out and give like all this psychological advice to people without really having any sort of education to back it up. Like, I get you can tell your own story and what you've experienced in your own situation, but to be a psychologist and like go out there. So Jody Hildebrandt is actually who I was more interested in, because she is like cultish leader part of it. And so I like to dig into the psychology of the people who lead these cults, or the people who, you know, think that for some reason they're qualified to tell other people what to do with their lives.
Thanks, Heather.
Oh, Heather who?
Hi.
Oh, hey there. I don't care what Mel says. You're my favorite Garner. My little sister. Everyone's always going to pick Corey's side. It's totally fine. Yeah, sometimes your smirk and you're shaking your head says volumes about what we're saying. And then somebody says slow burns are the best. So yeah, I definitely, I'm like, okay, here's what you need to know. It's here's here. And then he's over here like, no, there's details.
There's a backup.
We gotta talk. We gotta fill in the details.
We're learning a whole bunch of different words within the AUB, and that's what I'm trying to put. Those details are you're saying abuse, and what is it that they're saying?
They're saying unrighteous dominion.
Unrighteous dominion. They're using different terminology.
Yeah.
They don't like that she's using words like cult or abuse.
Yeah.
Or they have softened everything, so it's more righteous and religious. And I'm just kind of popping in those religious terms.
Well, it's like they're using, the AUB right now is using terminology such as, so there's been a rash of excommunications from the AUB recently, and they're excommunicating for unrighteous dominion. We've already talked on this channel about righteous anger, which justifies abuse, and that's basically just BS talk for actual abuse. Yeah. And they don't want to admit that they're abusive, and so they want to say things like, "Oh, he's been excommunicated for unrighteous dominion." So basically, he abused his family, but we don't
because
specify
if you use
that.
words like abuse, then it could be taken to the authorities.
Right.
If you use words, they're changing all the words and the meanings to make them not unsafe words. So
right.
The words you are using are unsafe words within the community.
And so that is one of the biggest beefs my dad has with me right now, is the fact that I've been so openly using the word cult online. And now there was a study done in an article that my dad sent me of why we don't use the word cult or we don't use the word abuse. What it does is it dehumanizes people, and then it makes it okay to treat them like crap because they're no longer human, because they're cult members. And so I understand some of the psychology behind that, but still I don't like putting pretty words just to make things not appear as real as they are. I'm going to call it like I see it, and I'm going to name it like I see it, and they're abusers. And so with relabeling things as he was excommunicated from the AUB for unrighteous dominion. Now you got to be really abusive to be excommunicated, first of all, especially to be excommunicated for unrighteous dominion. You have to be extremely abusive. You don't just lose your family or have your family unsealed to you unless you have broken your covenants that you've made in the endowment house, in the temple, with before God. So that's where if you're getting excommunicated and your wives are being taken away from you for unrighteous dominion, there's some serious abuse going on right there. And there's a lot of people in the AUB who have recently been kicked out for this reason. So it's been a little triggering for both of us as we have been watching the Sister Wives show and doing the recap on it. And then also have, these background people talking to us, because we do have some AUB. Now, that being said, also, if you are an AUB member and you want to speak to us, please feel free to reach out to us. We have our email is attached on our page. We will never publicly divulge anything that you do not want publicly divulged, or you don't want your name attached to, or we would never say anyone's name anyways. But if you are a current AUB member and you have things that you feel like you need to talk about, I've had dozens and dozens of people reach out to me, and sometimes the energy gets really heavy, and it gets really my heart starts to hurt, because I know how I felt when I literally thought my eternal salvation was up and I was going to be eternally damned. Now, one of the things that the AUB has taught my whole life and Corey and I have been talking about these, is the fact that if the AUB 100% truly believes, and I've been taught this since I was a small child, that if they did not exist, holding all of the laws that they believe,
the priesthood,
all of the Joseph Smith's teachings, everything, that the world would cease to exist. That's how important they feel like the work that they're doing is that the world would literally, it would be the second coming, the world would end if they were not a group of people that kept this principle alive on the world. Does that, hopefully that made sense, right?
If there is not a next generation to pass it on to.
Right.
And so they're looking for those 1, 2, 3 of these huge families to carry on the keys, to carry on the traditions.
Yeah.
Because if all of the families basically said, no, this is too much, and walked away, their belief system, their scare tactic is then the world ends.
Right.
So
right. So you feel that heavy responsibility of, I have to make sure that I am living this way and living this way right or properly or doing whatever, because if I don't, the world literally ceases to exist, because God will come down and he will wipe out the world. So that is some pretty heavy doctrine. That's some pretty heavy guilt. So as people have reached out to us, especially over the last 2 weeks since we've been doing the Sister Wives recap, I didn't have any idea that we would get that much. Like, we've been talking about Sister Wives for a couple weeks now since the series came out, but just doing the recap on episode 1, season 1, I had no idea that we would get this many people reaching out to us. And so it has been a little bit heavy. I'm like, I don't know if I can go live and then still be happy and jovial, because I feel like there's so much shit going on. That's
where I come in with the jokes. And
and
I did get pretty serious, because I'm like, I was disturbed. We were watching it, and Melanie's like, people have been asking, because she went off. I mean, she was very angry at one of the episodes, and I almost pulled out my phone and recorded it so you guys could see. But yeah, it does get disturbing.
And it is, it's really hard, especially when you love people and they're still your family and friends. There's still people that you love, and you're watching them be literally brainwashed by this, and there's nothing you can do to get them out of it. They have to come to that conclusion on their own. There's just no way that they're going to listen to it, because the minute that you start to say something, you are now doing exactly what they warned you that people would do to get them out.
They set it up. As soon as we leave the AUB, then we are the enemy. We have chosen to be with the enemy.
Yeah.
If we talk to you, they really have to make the own choice in their head that this is so disturbing back here that I'm okay now to step into hell.
Right.
Hell and damnation, and you have to basically leave your faith behind, and that's a scary part for most people.
Right.
So it was for me too. So I was leaving, and I'm like, but there was a chance when I left that I would never get to see my family again. But thank goodness my family are like, no, we still like this guy, but we were afraid that if the leadership said, which they did in a letter, that I couldn't come back up onto their property, and I was disobedient and still came up onto their property, and my parents allowed it and my family allowed it. And so when the family's disobedient, you get to still hang out. But there was a chance that if my family listened to their leadership, I wouldn't have seen them again. So it's a scary mood, scary step to step out into the world with all of us, all the Gentiles and apostates.
Well, we're worse than Gentiles now.
We're
so
apostate. Somebody asked, well, I thought that they didn't excommunicate people from a corporation because they're now a corporation. That's what's been said. We don't do that. We can't excommunicate. We're a corporation, But the evidence is still there. All of a sudden somebody, whatever term they want to use, it's still, you've got all your priesthood taken away, you lose your family. Yeah. They might call it disfellowship or whatever it is. They probably, but I've seen paperwork that after they said that they don't do that anymore, they're still excommunicating people, still giving them paperwork saying you're not welcome on
Right.
priesthood property. You've lost all of your blessings and all the other favorite things that they like to put in their letters. So.
And I think that's one of the things that hit us both so hard last night watching the Ruby Franke show, was just how at one point she isolated her children for a year. Her children were not able to contact her or have anything to do with her, or the small children. And I think that's one of the things that was really kind of triggering for both of us, because now that we've been speaking out publicly, there are people who are like, hey, just don't tell Corey and Melanie this because we don't want this broadcast out. And I mean, we're never going to broadcast anything that people don't say, hey, talk about this or don't talk about this or whatever. We will never do that. But it's hard too, because you feel that us versus them. And so, watching those kids be isolated from their parents last night was, gosh, it hurt my heart so much, because it's, I'm never going to say that somebody had righteous anger. No, they were abused. They were abusers. They abuse people. Mm-hmm. I will never say that somebody is being kicked out of a church for unrighteous dominion. No, they're abusers. They're kicked out because they abuse their family.
Well, and so, again, just my opinion. It's not facts or anything like that. It's just my opinion on the matter. But I think they use terms like that up until the point that these people are getting arrested by the cops, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we better excommunicate them, we better, but they'll overlook it for years of the complaints and stuff like that. And so absolutely.
My little sister says, I seriously had no idea about most of this stuff you older siblings talk about. So that is one of the things too. Like Corey and I being the oldest, we were, there was a lot of expectations of us too, to be a certain way, do a certain thing. And I feel like we were some of the mold breakers, if you will, like so much expectation. But then we also, when we broke away from it, it shielded our siblings to some degree so that they don't have to have those same experiences that we've had to have. My younger siblings were not raised by the same parents I was raised by.
Well, and weren't, I don't think, indoctrinated as deeply as we were either.
Not at all. Yeah.
So,
So you're welcome.
It's interesting to see the, even with Robin talking to the older kids, hey, you are going to, you have to choose our religion. You don't get to choose another religion until you're 18. That's the older kids. And now, I know these kids but now their tune changes. Well, we want our kids to be able to decide wherever. Well, it took multiple children finding other avenues, and holy crap, they're still good kids. What?
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like it's interesting. Okay, well, these kids have made different choices.
Yeah.
They're still good kids, so maybe we don't have to indoctrinate so much on our littler kids. So. Right.
Well, Bridget says, I think that push and pull is why a lot of the brown kids who did have content out stopped. It's hard line to walk, I think. Mm-hmm. It is really hard because we still have family in there that we love, and then I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm a big girl, and things, can roll off my back fairly easily. I'm pretty secure in who I am. I don't need the approval. But it's even harder when we are trying to get our experiences out there. And we didn't expect our channel to blow up the way that it did. We had no idea what we were doing. It took forever to figure out audio. It took forever to figure out, especially when we go live. And so then to be criticized with our delivery of our message, it's like, excuse me, I was raised in a cult. I've been shamed and guilted my whole life. Get off, don't even make a comment on my page if you are just going to come here to be critical. And so sometimes that can get a little bit heavy too. So then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is getting the message out there worth some of the backlash that we're getting? And really, we don't get as much backlash. That's what's kind of so sucky, is like you can get 1,000 compliments and then one or two like negative things kind of make it go, oh, that sucked. Ah, that kind of stung. And so, I was telling Corey, I'm like, we just got to start making more funnier videos, because we're just exhausted with some of the criticism. It's like, it's like, I'm sorry that we came from a cult and that we are not publicly polished in any way, shape, or form. And then you want to criticize our delivery, or you want to criticize our commenting on the Browns. I'm sorry, the Browns are public figures. They put themselves out there, and we comment on the Browns because that's what people know, and they're from the same church that we were from. So that's why we comment on it. So if you have a problem with it, just get off our channel. Like, just don't watch it. And please don't make an announcement about it on your way out. Just feel free to go, you know?
Yeah. And
There's my snarky.
Oh, yeah. And I would like just to thank you guys for all the comments towards me. But my head is getting so big right now. My neck's getting sore from carrying around this huge head, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, somebody says...
And I just don't read the snarky comments, so.
I'm the one who tries to respond. I can't always respond to every comment, but I do try. And then if I don't respond, it's... A lot of times it's because somebody asked a really good question and I want to get back to that question, and the minute that I respond to it, it like disappears and I can't see it again. And so, but yeah. So.
And I'm just scanning through them looking for good jokes to tell. So, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So somebody says, was Tom Green a part of the AUB? He tried to be for a while, but they would not allow him to be because of the way he chose to marry women, or girls, really. That he didn't marry women, he married girls.
I think he's part of... He had a number with the Kingston group.
Yeah, that's what I heard too, is he had a number in the order.
I can't, the order.
But I don't remember either, yeah.
That's who he was with, so.
Yeah. And then, of course, he's...
Total piece of shit. Sorry, just my opinion, but...
Well, there you go.
There's a lot of them.
So, yeah, Corey has... somebody was like, wait, I thought you guys should live record yourselves watching the episodes and instead of just giving a recap. And I'm like... we will 100% get canceled. The F word comes out of my mouth quite often. Somebody says, sorry if this is redundant. Where do you think the strength to walk away at such a young age came from? I think this is so incredible to be so in touch with yourself despite so much indoctrination. That's a good question. Honestly, for me, I feel like I had a 2-year-old little girl and I watched the previous prophet before my dad. I watched the way he was Googling eyes at her one day. And that was strength enough for me to figure that out. Now, it didn't last a long time. It only lasted like 2 years, and then I went back because then I had my next baby was a sick baby. And I thought God was punishing me for leaving. So I went back to the AUB. But I was 19 years old when I had her. So I would have been about 21 when I left. And yeah, that was really hard. But my children, I think, are what gave me the strength, because I feel like you could look at it two ways. Either I'm leaving to strengthen and make sure my children are safe, or I'm staying because I need to make sure my children are safe. So I think it just depends. But coming from such an abused life, like sexual abuse, mental, emotional, spiritual abuse, all the amount of abuse that I suffered as a child, I couldn't imagine my daughter going through that in the name of righteousness. You know, what were you going to say?
Yeah, just my experience. We grew up in a community where we were not a royal family, and we were treated very, very poorly. And some of my older siblings were treated very poorly. We were treated poorly, and so I started to question. I think probably 14, 15. Wait a minute. We have to follow these guys. And so I was very rebellious. The more I became rebellious and did things that were not approved, the more they invited me out. They didn't want a lot of my family. They're okay with my sister staying in there so they could marry him, but they didn't want the males to be a part of the community. And so they would preach something over the pulpit. They would treat their children with kindness and forgiveness, and those that weren't righteous families or higher ranked families were pushed out, were treated absolutely different. And so I just went, you know what? I'm going to hell. These guys don't want me around. I don't want to be around them. So it was more of an easy way, I feel like, for me to get out, because they didn't want me there than with you.
But I feel like too, like when you got excommunicated, it was easy, yeah, because then you're just like, well, I got kicked out. But then at the same time, you downward spiraled for quite a while, because then you're like, oh my gosh, my eternal salvation is, so you had to come to grips with that, or terms with that.
Well, and I feel like then I went into the LDS church for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then started asking all the questions, and then I went, it's the same. It's this. I feel bad to say that. I love all my family that's in the LDS church and all that, but they have the same. They believe the same core principles.
Right.
That the AUB does, and so I just asked too many questions. So sorry, guys.
No, we love it.
So I thought it was easy for me because it was like, there's the door, get the hell out. So
yeah, but too, when you and I got together, I remember you saying I remember saying to you, why do you care what these people think about you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just you're there.
I was irritated
because unfortunately we do. Yeah. Like, they're people that you thought their opinion mattered your entire life, and then once you leave, you're just like, why do I care about how did I let you have that much control over my spiritual?
Yeah. Well, it was so interesting because when I left, I would go up and see my family, but if they were going to a community get together, I didn't like the people in there.
Right.
And so I didn't want to go hang out with those people. So I'd go up to my parents' house and hang out there. But I wasn't going to their church. I wasn't going to their special things. Not that we could now, because they require.
Yeah, now they require a temple recommend to even go into the building.
Into their buildings. But I could go up on the community thing. And then it was so interesting when I started dating her. We would go to funerals. We would go to different events, and these men, huge men that I'd looked up to, I was trying to impress, I guess, when I was a kid, that kicked me out. They're frail little old men that don't even know who I am.
You're like, oh my God, they're just human. They're not even like real. Because go ahead, sorry.
No, I just had so much frustration and anger towards them, and all of a sudden I didn't. I was like, they're frail old men. They don't even have a clue who I am. I would walk into these buildings and they'd be like, oh, brother, how are you doing? Because I was married to her. So thinking I was a part of it. And I'm like, nope, Gentile, heathen. So
yeah, and it is. When you're growing up, now you see this a lot in the FLDS. They always have a picture of the prophet on the wall. They always have a picture of, and a lot of extreme religions require this, because then you make this person more than a man. They're like God on earth, right? And so it is interesting when you've broken away from it for so long, and then you do go to some event and you see somebody like this, and you're like, you're just a man. Like, you're just a regular man, and yet I allowed you to dictate and control such a huge portion of my life.
And so many people in the AUB have her dad's picture, prophet, up on the wall as the prophet now, and we have pictures of him on our screen in there, our wall, but he's dressed as Gandalf.
I was going to say he's dressed as Gandalf.
Gandalf.
He came as Gandalf the Great at a Halloween party.
Is the prophet of the AUB now, based on our house. If you came in here and saw.
So when you're Corey dressed up as Elvis Presley, I was a pumpkin, and my dad was Gandalf the Great. And my dad's like, because we do Halloween. Halloween's a big deal at our house. So we do these big Halloween parties. So my dad shows up in perfect costume of Gandalf the Great. And Gandalf the Great, right?
Gandalf the Great.
I am not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, sorry. And
I'm the nerd in the family.
And so he went trick-or-treating with all of our kids because he wanted to walk around the neighborhood because his costume was so spot on. He did such a great job with it. So that was hilarious. Yeah, let's see. Somebody says, Bridget says, like some of the above have said, you should know that your content and voice are helpful to a lot of your audience. Yeah. So ignore the trolls. You're doing good with this. And we really do try to ignore the trolls that come on. Some, like Reddit, there's a couple people on Reddit right now who can just kiss my ass.
And I'm just speculating who they are. So
yeah, we're pretty sure we know who they are.
Yeah, I'm more curious on who they are. So,
but
there's a couple people in your life.
It's just interesting. It's just the way. And so for the most part, we're very secure in who we are and what we talk about and what we're doing. I don't need, but sometimes it can get heavy when we're watching the show, and then we watch stuff like the Ruby Franke show, and it triggers like so much when you see the way that those children, like the dad, shame on him for not standing up to his wife, But those children that were told that they were possessed and that they were,
Mm-hmm.
and the young teenage boy who was like, it was my fault that,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, those can be triggering for us because we're told that our lives,
that's
in our
religious
lives.
shame that we have been given. That's why it triggered me, is because those were, well, we got an evil spirit in the house, it's because of you guys, and
Yeah.
you're like, holy crap, and so you're trying to be more righteous or religious, and it shows you how brainwashed they are. And that's the worst part of it. Even when you see the evidence that your kids have been malnutritioned and beat, you're like, my belief system doesn't allow me to believe that woman could do that to my kids.
Right.
Something has to be wrong. And it takes that kind of travesty before they wake up to the brainwashing that we were born into and grew up in. And so I am so thankful every day that I had that ability to look at their teachings and to question them. And yes, that made me rebellious. Yes, that made me not the golden child, but it did make it so that, and I try at my age right now to question every belief system I have.
Right.
I'm sorry that somebody said that the illiteracy of this generation is those people that aren't willing to question their belief systems and learn and consistently learn, and they get stuck into a belief system that I had a good feeling about it at 30 years ago, and so I'm going to stick with that belief system even though it's damaging and harming the people and myself around me. So
right. Well, now I got a bunch of haters going, you don't know Lord of the Rings?
I know.
No, the reason why I never got into Lord of the Rings, I have now. In fact, we just did a marathon over Christmas and we watched all of them from start to finish. I actually loved them as a child because The Hobbit came out when I was in elementary school and our teacher read it to us and I loved it. But the Lord of the Rings came out when we had our last child, and he was really hard. He was a really hard baby. He's on the spectrum. There was just a lot going on with him medically. And so it was frustrating for me. I couldn't sit down and actually get into the shows. And so it hasn't been since he's gotten older. I mean, he required a lot of attention up until he was probably 10 or 11. And then that's where he became a little bit more independent. And then once he hit about 14, he was really became a lot more independent. So that's why I never got into them, is because I could not sit down for that many hours and watch a show with a little guy that was just a constant, needed to be on me or attached to my body in some way. He was just always, so yeah, that's why I never got into it. But now I actually really love them, but I haven't seen them enough to be able to call out characters like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just thought it was funny because we did actually go see one in Montana. All the Kerners, Corey's whole family, we all went to a movie theater to see one, and I ended up out in the hallway for a good portion of the show, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I can't get into this show. But yeah, we did that whole marathon at Christmas. We loved it. Like, we started with the very first, I think it was the Hobbit episode, right? And then we watched them all the way through. We watched them in chronological order, the way they were supposed to go. Someone says, can a female be named a prophet of the AUB?
Queen in the priesthood.
A female cannot even get her own self into heaven in the AUB. She has to be attached to a worthy man in the AUB. And so, no, a woman definitely could not hold any sort of leadership position like that, let alone have any sort of authority to get herself into heaven, for hell's sakes. So
the highest ranking that they can hold is probably Relief Society president.
Right.
So
yeah,
you aspire to be the Relief Society president at some point in your life. So
somebody says, Mel, you grew up knowing your dad was just a man. Was it strange to find out that he was the prophet? Okay, so my dad was put on the council, like in the Mormon church. There was 12 apostles and then the prophet. My dad was made one of those 12 apostles when I was 19. And that's when I had my very first major crisis of faith, because I was like, what is happening? I had gone through so many levels of abuse, and my dad, there was just a lot to deal with it, because yes, I knew he was just a man. And so that was really hard for me. but my younger siblings didn't go through that because they just grew up with him being on the leadership their whole lives. And so when he was made the prophet, I knew that was coming because that's just how the succession works. But they didn't realize that. And so now that my dad's been the prophet for about the last 3 years, my younger siblings have had those crises of faith. My little sister's on here. She might still be on here. And maybe she can answer that question for me too, because that really that's why some of my siblings started going public, is because that was so, like, it flipped their entire world upside down, and they were just like, what in the hell is happening right now? Now, I'm not saying my dad's a bad person at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's just we know the mortal side of him. And so I've had people from the AUB reach out to me, especially recently. I've had a lot more reach out to me in the last 2 weeks. I don't know what's happening, but something. And so, and I've heard them say, oh my gosh, your dad, I've always put him up. And I'm thinking, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. I like him. I'm not saying that but the way that they describe him, he's next to God. And that feels weird for me because I do see the man's flaws. You know, my mom's leaving him. My mom's been leaving him. I see the way that that's transpiring, and it's not, I don't think a man of God would treat a woman the way my dad has treated my mom during this process. So, go ahead.
He moved from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. So he's now Gandalf the White.
Oh my God. So yeah, knowing that my dad was just a man, it makes it for him to be prophet is not weird. I mean, literally after he became the prophet, one of the very first things I asked my dad was, what does God's voice sound like? And he did not think I was funny at all. And I was like, I'm not trying to be, he's like, don't be disrespectful, young lady. And I was like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just genuinely want to know, like, if you're the mouthpiece of God here on earth and you're like the only one on the planet that can talk directly to God, can you tell me what that sounds like? So
Probably
yeah.
sounds like me, just a little quicker.
Yeah, he just gets his shit out faster than you do. So
I'm slow at it. Speaking his word, sorry.
Do you honestly, though, do you feel disrespected by me when we're talking?
No, but I find it humorous. We kick back and forth.
Am I abusive to you? You better say no.
I was going to do a whole routine on that. I got hit in the face playing with my grandkids. I thought it was going to give me a black eye. And I'd be like, hey, everybody, thank you for speaking up and telling Mel to let me speak, but I know that I am to be spoken. I can speak when I'm spoken to, and you guys standing up for me is hurting, but it never became a black eye, so just a little swollen there.
This last week, our granddaughter turned 2. Our baby granddaughter turned 2, and they had a bounce house, and Corey's over there bouncing with one of the little boys, and man, he just came out of that bounce house and just clocked Corey so hard, and he's like, I'm using this on our podcast. I'm like, you better not.
It's not black, but
I'm like, yeah, you better not use it as on there.
Yeah. Then my brother was telling me that we should. I guess there's a drink you can order if you're being abused or something.
Oh yeah.
Sex in the basement. Or,
oh my gosh, that's not.
We don't know what it's called.
But you go to the bartender and apparently you can order this drink,
order a
and
special
then
drink
yeah.
if you're being abused.
And then isn't there like there's a hand symbol or something that you can do? Anyways, Corey's like, I'm gonna subliminally put these on the video.
I'm fine. I'm not being abused.
Yeah. So Scott says, both of you and Sam and Melissa, I think, have the right balance on podcast. Your own lived experience videos, I can relate to the abuse, and my daughter gave me my strength to leave. Strength to leave X not from the cult. Yeah. So your daughter gave you the strength to leave from the cult. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that that's true. We do talk about the Browns, and we are doing a watch. People asked us to do a watch. We decided we were going to do a watch. And it's really just getting our opinion on our own lived experiences. And the public knows the Browns. That's what they do. So of course, like, I'm not just going to go to give you some Joe Schmo's experience that the public doesn't relate to at all. So of course it's easy to use the Browns as a jumping off point of, hey, yeah, this is what happens under these circumstances. So anyways, people could just suck it.
Plus you guys have names put to different personalities, and so when we say, hey, you got a mother that's similar to this personality, people know. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can do yuck. I've deconstructed into I just love Jesus and leave the rest to the others. But the cray of women of we come from a woman, but yet can't let women in leadership in a lot of religious is silly. I totally agree. Like, women are not, like, I'm sorry, women are some of the most powerful healers on the planet. They just are. And especially if you get a woman in alignment with her own energy and alignment with who she is, yeah, women move mountains. They do things. And so that's what I was going to tell Corey. I'm like, where are all my feminist people who watch our podcast? Like, why don't you get on here and be like, Corey, hold your own weight and stop making Mel do everything?
Yeah, that's why I think some of your haters are some cool, or some, not the haters are some of the people she's talking about in the AUB. So it's kind of funny. I'm trying to guess who they are.
Yeah.
Under their cool code names. So.
Yeah. And somebody says, I imagine that God would sound like James Earl Jones.
There's a drink called Corey Descended.
Somebody says, Corey, blink twice if you need saving.
Well, the funny part about what God sounds like is it depends on who the mouthpiece of God is. I mean, yeah, that their prophecies all of a sudden show up in different. I mean, I know Warren Jeffs is trying to still do the 17th century, that these and thous and thines and stuff like that, but yeah, I find it funny that when God speaks through different mouthpieces, his words change.
I know.
So,
they conveniently.
Maybe it isn't God.
Right.
So maybe it's just the man trying to interpret what these. But that's just me. Those of you that believe that God speaks through a man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
If it comes through me, it's nefarious revelation. If it comes through somebody else, it's not.
It's all of a sudden gospel truth.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, I just think it's funny. Corey and Mel had a sacred covenant that he would never speak ill of Melanie when they were sealed. That's right.
I didn't.
He better.
God
see.
sounds like he's on helium when he talks to me, so it's pretty cool. Gets me laughing.
It's so funny because sometimes I'll say to Corey, I'm like, are you okay? You seem a little bit upset, or like, what's happening? Like, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, you just seem disconnected. He's like, I'm narrating my life right now, Mel. Right. He's like, my life has music. And then he tells me, you gotta, if you could get inside my head and hear the soundtrack of my life going on, you would die laughing. And so, no, I think it's funny. I do think it's funny, and I'm the kind of person that likes to get down to the point sometimes, and so it was hilarious. Let's see, Corey, Mel just has to make up for all the years growing up where only the men were allowed to talk. It's true.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too because I'm like, I'm the one who started this podcast, not even Corey. I had to beg this guy to get on here with me. I know I had to beg you. I was like, he was all, I'm not doing that. I'm not talking publicly. No way. And I'm like, but you'd be so good at it. Like, if we talked together, we'd be really good at it. And so, but there's a part of us that does get triggered a little bit about speaking out in the fact that our voices were never heard. Mm-hmm. We never really, children are so discounted in the AUB, their voices really don't matter, especially if you're a girl, or if you come from a family that's not elevated, then your voices really have no, relevancy. And so that's been weird for us, like, to be able to speak out and then have our voices be heard and have people tell us that it's changing their lives. We appreciate that because it's not something that we're familiar with. It feels unfamiliar to us. So, isn't part of the 10 Commandments to have no other gods, yet they make these religion leaders a god?
So in their religious belief, the 10 Commandments were set up for the Israelites by God when they were going, and the restoration of all of, not just 10 commandments, all of the commandments were given to Joseph Smith. Mm-hmm. And so the 10 commandments are commandments, but they're lower versions of those were set up for the Israelites. Now we've got a whole new set of commandments, and one of them is follow the living prophet. That changes from here to there. So
yeah. Oh, yep. So let's see.
Order the blasphemous woman when I'm asking for help. I like a blasphemous woman.
Can I have a blasphemous
please?
woman? What
That is
comes
awesome.
with that? The spiciest alcohol you have here. So somebody says, or Bridget says, I found you both because of the interest in the Browns and the discussion of cults from your own experiences. All really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like too, you know, we're not trying to hinge on our relationship that we had with the Browns 30 years ago. You know, we still talk to some of them to this day. And that's okay.
She
Like,
does.
yeah.
I don't talk to any of them.
No, you've had some as
okay.
clients and stuff, and that's fine.
I've talked to one, but yeah,
Yeah, and that's
have,
okay. Like we don't need. I feel like our story is sufficient enough. We don't need. Why do our lights keep going out like that? Oh well, I think our lights keep getting too warm and then they go out. Somebody says many of us would join the NRC, the Nefarious Revelations Club. That's hilarious.
I'm not starting a cult, sorry guys.
I for one enjoy the two of you on the lives, yin and the yang. Yeah, thank you. We everyone's told us in our real lives that, and not that this isn't our real life, but like people who know us intimately always tell us like you two have the best relationship, and I feel like we really do. Like we get along so well, and we very seldom ever argue. I mean, we have strong disagreements sometimes, but then Corey just admits he's wrong, and then we just move forward. But no, we do get along very well. That's one of the reasons why when people found out we got divorced, nobody had any idea that we gotten divorced. We didn't publicly make an announcement or anything, and then people were like, "No way."
I didn't have the phone tree, so
yeah, I wasn't
welcome on the phone tree to announce our divorce. So
yeah,
people found out 6 months, a year later.
Yeah,
and we're like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
So.
Is adoption a thing in the AUB? Mary Brown had one child and wanted more. I always wondered why they didn't adopt. Yeah, I know some people who have been adopted. One of my best friends too, growing up. So yeah, a lot of people do. The problem with adopting is that everyone's so afraid of having any government involvement in their lives at all. And then B, it can get expensive. And I mean, I know it's not quite as expensive as IVF or anything like that, but it can get expensive. And most families just don't have the resources for that. And then a lot of families, they won't let you adopt if you are, now where Mary was the legal wife, she probably had a lot more opportunities given to her for that at the time she was the legal wife. But I mean, most of the time they're not going to let a single woman or, you know what I mean, adopt.
But I think they're talking about Cody and Robin getting legally married so they could adopt legally.
Well,
usually they just take on the family. They do that little thing that they've never done in any other episode and put their hands on the head and give them a name and a blessing. And so they're known on the church records that they're now known by this name. But to go through the legal forms they don't want the U.S. government or government agencies to know that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they'll do that in their private things. And so within the community, they're known as the Browns, but on legal paper. He did that for show. They did that for the show.
Right.
And he did that, again, only my opinion, to show the ex-husband. And I find that interesting in the first episode. We're not taking anything from the biological father. He's got 2 fathers and 4 mothers. Oh, well, let's just skip ahead a little bit. We're taking that all away from you. And I'm going to, for the first time, to put one of our righteous... one
of our most sacred
blessings on TV so that I can let him know that I've taken not only legally the name away from him, but also his religious... I get them in the afterlife. That was a power play on both ends. It was irritating to me. Sorry, it was. It was irritating.
It was hard to watch.
Because he was doing it. They say in the first episode, these are sacred covenants, the sacred things that we don't show the outside world, and yet we will show the outside world this part of it by giving them the name and blessing.
It was a flex.
It was.
Cody 100% did that as a flex against Preston. So, I mean, it's sucky. But I think this particular question, because we're not going to see that. Remember after the honeymoon episode and he was like, Mary, I want to have more kids. Let's look into IVF or whatever. So online, you don't read a lot of the comments, but online a lot of people were saying, why couldn't Mary just adopt? Why would she have to do that? And
because she was married at that time.
Right,
so.
she was the legal wife at that time, so she could have absolutely adopted. I know a lot of people who have adopted. Even on My 5 Wives, towards the end of the season, Rhonda talked about adopting a child. In fact, when we saw them a few weeks ago, I asked her flat out, hey Robin, or not Rhonda, you had talked about adopting, did you ever do that? And she said no, that she never followed up with that. And so, but she had looked into it. And so, yeah, it's absolutely a thing. Somebody says, I want to acknowledge this one. Someone says, it's been a year since Garrison has passed. My thoughts and prayers are with Janelle's family today. Is it a year today? I did not realize that. Mental awareness is important. Please, if you need help or love or a loved one, call 988. Yeah. So yeah, I really want to put that out there too. Having several, growing up in a religion, I've had a couple of these attempts in my life, and they've come pretty close to leaving and ending my life. And so definitely we want to acknowledge that, and definitely know we didn't have the resources. I was 19 the very first time that I was just barely 20 the very first time that I wanted to leave. And that was a really hard experience to go through. And I just, my ex-husband wanted to marry another woman or girl, let's say, I should say a girl. It was really hard for me, and I didn't know how to process through it. And so yeah, I do talk about that on, we've started to organize our videos. And so you'll see that we have them in groups now. And one of them in the podcast, I do talk about that in one of the podcasts about why I felt like I needed to leave and wanted to leave at that time. So yes, please remember, there is a suicide hotline. You can just dial 988 on your cell phone.
And there are people within these extreme cults that feel like it would be better for them, because one of the teachings that they teach you is once you're excommunicated, once you're pushed out into the world, you'll be turned over to the buffetings of Satan.
Yeah.
And become his minions. And so a lot of times people are like, well, I'm no longer welcome here. I don't want to become a tool. What's my next choice, since I'm going and they give up on life, and they don't need to do that.
Right.
It's not as bad as we were raised our whole life that it was going to be like out here. So yeah. I haven't been turned over to the buffetings of Satan. I don't feel like he talks to me. I don't feel like anybody talks to me. So
except for that doll that we have on the back wall back there. So yeah, we definitely.
If it's Satan, great. He's got a good sense of humor. If it's God, great. He's got a good sense of humor. So
yeah.
And I think it's me and my.
Yeah. Somebody says, "Are you still planning on doing a plant medicine podcast?" Yes, we are. It's so funny because we did do we did a video about us and being raised on a compound versus being raised and it is so much harder to talk about our own personal stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've done a couple of different videos on my own. I've done a bunch of TikTok videos, but it is a little bit harder. So Corey's still kind of learning that part of it. It's easier to talk about like our lived experiences than it is to kind of dip. So we're still getting Corey a little revved up and warmed up to that.
Yeah, she's okay with just, this is how it is. And I'm like, I have parents and family that I love, but I didn't agree with everything how I was raised. So yeah. What do I say with, I love my dad. I love my mom's. It's interesting. So I'm going through that, and they're not monsters, but some things that we went through were pretty frustrating, and stuff that I love my children and I would never put them through. So yeah. And we're just learning how to communicate that. So
yeah. And it is hard when you're telling your story, because you do tell a story, or you do tell your experience, and we were abused. We absolutely were abused. And when we tell that story, it kind of makes like my dad looked like a monster.
Yeah.
My dad's not always a monster, you know, and he's changed and he's learned and he's such a different person now than he was back then. And so that's what's kind of hard about figuring out how do we tell our stories without making the people that we love become monsters in the public eye, but yet still talk about the experiences that we went through. So we're finding that balance still. And you know, I am a lot more blunt and can just say things the way that Corey just like does the facial expressions to back me up. But yeah, we definitely will talk. And that's what I told him. I said, maybe we should just come out and talk about our ayahuasca experiences. Talk about
the healing part of it.
Right.
The healing, the stuff. I got to see a version of my dad and look back and see the things and talk to his brothers and sisters and see how he was raised versus how he raised us.
Right.
And he was trying to do so much better than the way he was raised, and I'm trying to do so much better the way that I raised my children than the way I was raised. So it's a continuing learning process. So
yeah. So it's on our you guys just get to come and see all the messy beginnings of us learning how to do this publicly. So somebody says, I found you because of the Browns. I stayed for the Kerner snark. Thank you. A lot of people have found us through our commentary on the show. We're not even going to lie about that.
Yeah.
It's because that's the most public domain talking about polygamy and talking about the AUB. So yeah.
Well, we were talking about it before, and 10 of you guys were like, hey, how's it going, everything. So
no, we appreciate it.
A lot of people, and pushing us out, and then all of a sudden she started talking about some of the stuff, and I was like, oh, now a lot of people are interested in what you have to say.
Yeah.
And then she invited me on, and I'm like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, and she's been getting in trouble because of that. So
that's fine. I'm totally good. Somebody says, why are the people in the AUB afraid of the government? So back in the day, there was a lot of people were arrested and thrown in jail because polygamy was illegal. And now it's decriminalized, but it's not legal. So now they won't prosecute you for it, but it's not legal either. And so there was a lot of people, especially in the AUB, that's parents had to go. They went to prison. They took kids away from families, and so it's a very touchy thing for a lot of people to have the government involved. I mean, literally, we had to force my mom to go get public help because my little brother was so disabled. And we had to force my mom, and I think he was probably 13 before she actually went and got any help. And he was still he was in adult diapers by that point. And that was what we're like, Mom, just please go get on some state help to pay for his diapers. She was going through 4 or 5 diapers. I think he wore diapers till he was 13 or 14. And so, you know, that's expensive, and she could not keep that up on her own. But her children almost had to force the issue because they are so afraid that the government will come in. She was afraid that they would come in and take him away because he had Down syndrome and he was disabled, and she was a polygamous wife. So.
And there's other reasons too. The mark of the beast. If you're on government assistance, there'll be a time that you have to take the mark of the beast to be a part of that. And you want to be self-sufficient and out of the way. So my family, as far as I know, none of us were ever on government assisted stuff. We created this utopia up there where everybody grew their own stuff, so nobody would have to take the mark of the beast upon themselves. And so they consider the government or as the beast, as the great and abominable beast. So
yeah, so they teach you to try to be more self-sufficient than ever rely on the government.
So you never should rely on it, and you didn't even want them to know what you were doing, because if you were building something, then they want to come in and get their hands in it and have to get. And so we never sold our produce. Anything that we made within the compound up there was never sold outside of it. It was always used by the people within in trade and barter, because if you sold outside, then you'd have to get permits from the government, things like that. And so they never did. So everything was produced for the community as a sufficient community. That's how I grew up. So
yeah, that's how they try to teach it to us.
mm-hmm.
Somebody says, Mel, we get upset by Cody, and then you verify he isn't the worst. So, I mean, it is. I mean, that statement can be taken a couple of different ways. That he isn't the worst of the men in the AUB. That's for sure. And then also he has reasons for doing what he's doing, and sometimes people genuinely feel like, you know, we've been talking about this the last couple of days too, about we're watching a series right now where they're trying, like it's the end of the world type of series, where they're trying to establish society, and how every leader feels like they're doing what's best for their people. And they feel justified in the abuses, destroying someone else's life to save their lives. And that, like, in a leadership position, some people feel like they're put in those positions. And so I feel like in their minds, they feel completely justified in the abuse that they inflict onto other people to save their own people. I think a lot of that goes in religion too. It's okay.
It is based on each religious beliefs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody says, Mel, you started your podcast speaking about your experiences in polygamy. It was us that begged you to speak on sister wives. There's no riding the Browns' coattails that I see. Yeah, thank you. I mean, if we talk about the Browns because that's what people are familiar with, and we don't have to talk about the Browns. We have enough of our own experiences that could probably fill up years of experience.
To be honest, when we talk about the Browns, we're just trying to point out what the difference is between. Because what she's saying, there are worse. There are. They're the show. They're the perfect. And yes, they're derailing. Yes, this is going on. But there's deeper belief systems behind what they're saying, what they're doing. There's a darker side, and so we're trying to more point out some of the darker sides that the Browns would never come out and say. They would never.
I mean, literally in the leadership, and we're going to do a video about this. We were talking about last night. I'm like, this is what we need to make a video about right here. Because in the leadership of the AUB too, I even said this to my dad. Oh my gosh, every single one of your leaders is a pedophile. Mm-hmm. Every single one of your leaders is an abuser. And, there's one leader who literally reproduced with his daughters. There's another leader that literally sold his daughters off. He let men try them out, and they paid him. He was basically a pimp for his own daughters. This is stuff that actually happens, but it doesn't get talked about on public TV, public stuff. And we do try to keep a lot to our own experiences. But these are some of the dark sides of polygamy that really are out there, and there's so much more we could talk about.
And here's the reason why. You're taking a community where they're scaring this community that the government, the outside people, everything is bad. You need to stick to these, to being righteous, to self-sustaining yourself, to doing all this stuff. And so you create this community that's hidden from the outside world, that's hidden from the government. And what is attracted to that? The craziest people become attracted to it. The most radicalized people show up there, and they read these scriptures. They read things like Lot laying with his daughters, and they believe that that's something that they should be able to do, or that is going to become necessary sometimes. And there's this small fringe of crazy people that are attracted to it, and until these people open up and say that it's not as scary out here in the big world, and if your children are being beaten, starved,
I think it's
abused,
scarier in
things
a cult.
like that, and I felt like for a time the AUB was trying to open up, especially when it became so blatant obvious that somebody was doing that. Then they were turned over to the police. They went to jail, and then AUB excommunicated them. Awesome.
Well, and the AUB finally adopted a policy back in the mid-90s to late 90s. They finally adopted a policy where they were turning these predators over to police.
Yeah.
Because it was so rampant in the AUB. There was so much abuse like this that they finally started going, we have to turn this over. Like the one who had children with his own daughter, he spent the rest of his life in prison. And so the AUB finally, after years and years of allowing this stuff to fly under the radar, and again, we don't call it abuse, we call it unrighteous dominion, then yeah, there is a lot of that kind of stuff that happens, and it's scary to go through. And that's one of the reasons why I had, wanted to end my life at one point, is because I didn't want, that felt better to go into outer darkness than live with the abuse that we were suffering under. And so really the only way that, and I go into a lot more detail on it on the podcast that I posted. It was just my 4-year-old little boy crying, going, I need my mom. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't leave these children in this abusive cult. I can't do that. And that's the only thing that like stopped me or saved me from finishing that. So yeah.
And so I'll give AUB, that's where we're kind of on this. AUB at least pushed these, they would find these crazies or very radical people,
very radical,
and push them out. No, you're not welcome here, and Tom Green, and then would go over and join the darker communities that would allow that kind of behavior because they were doing it in there. And so for a time, the AUB has been like, absolutely not. We need to follow some societal norms that you have to be 18 or you have to be 17 years old to.
Yeah, I was 17 to get married.
To get married.
Yeah.
They're following certain, hey, societally that's not, but there are still people within it that are waiting for a more righteous prophet and communities can change by when a new prophet takes. They'll all of a sudden come back in and say, okay, these belief systems that weren't being followed or weren't being enforced before are now being, and so her dad would be considered more of a liberal prophet, even though there are certain things that's like not all the way. So liberal in the standards of some of these radicals within the AUB. So.
Right, absolutely. Somebody says I have a whole story about this, but we're going to do it on a podcast. I would be interested in Rhonda's opinions of the episode where Robin gives birth. Oh, sorry, I misread that. Yeah, I have a whole opinion because people are like, is that normal for a woman to be a surrogate for another woman in the AUB? No, it's not, but it has happened, and we're actually going to talk about that on a video too.
None of that's normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody was talking. Okay, here's my snarky side again too. So, is there adoptions? Well, in some communities, some man no longer believes, his wives are taken away, his children are taken away, and then he has to go to the court system. But if he's just moving on to another community and going to get some more wives, it depends on the man and what's going on. A lot of these men get into the AUB just to get wives and have kids, and when they leave, they're done with it. Other men that especially men in my generation, grow up in it. If they're scared of the going to court and getting their kids, but there are some that go to court. No, I'm going to still raise my kids, have equal time with them and stuff like that. So adoption, no, it's taking, okay, I'm remarrying this guy's wife because I'm righteous and I'm going to not adopt them legally, but adopt them with putting my hands on their head and calling them by my last name within the community. So, retard.
It's true. Yeah, so somebody says, thank you for sharing that, Melanie. Deeply personal, but it also shows the level of trauma these cults, and yep, you're right to call it a cult cause for people. You are an inspiration. Thank you. Yeah, it's really
work. It's a lot.
And it's a lifetime of deconstruction. It's not
lifetime. Just you'll be going along thinking, I got this, I'm great. Then you watch season 1 of Sister Wives and you're like, my goodness, I'm okay. Goose
But we keep telling ourselves we're just gonna have fun with this.
Yeah, we're
like
just
this is just gonna be a
comedy.
great. Like we're gonna use comedy. But then there's sometimes. But then yeah, there's moments where it feels so triggering, and then I'm like, okay, take a break for 5.
Yeah, season 1. This is everything I'm not going to do. Season 4. We changed our mind. So
We're gonna do everything we said we weren't gonna do in
and
season 1. No, not us. Like the
no.
Browns. He's mocking the Browns.
We're priesthood holders, so we can change our mind. God helps us, guides us to change our mind for only righteous reasons. So
Yeah. Somebody says their daughter is very active in the plant medicine community. I love it. Like honestly, our children, our boys are the ones who got us into it. Because when we got divorced, I was actually extremely suicidal during that process, and it was one of the hardest times of my life for sure. And so my boys got us, started to teach us about it, and then we went on a couple of different ayahuasca experiences, and it's about time to go do it again, because it's been a couple of he always says that. He's like, oh, I don't know if because it's not something that you can get addicted to. It's work. It is a lot of work. But that's what I was telling him. I'm like, it's been 2 years since our last experience. It's about time for us to go do it again. And so let's see. Corey, here's a silly joke for you. Why do ducks have tail feathers? To cover their quacks.
That's
I know.
genius.
We cannot have any more dad jokes. You should see my kids. They literally roll their eyes like, okay, where is this going?
Well, it's because I start a story, and then all of a sudden I'll kind of switch into it like, oh, yeah, we were having and all of a sudden they're like, all right, 2 minutes, he's telling a joke here. So here it comes. And then I give the cool punchline in there. Frustrated that they listened to the story like it was actually real. Yeah. Somebody says that you learn to grow from hard soil is inspiring. Yeah, thank you. There's still times, I mean, it still hurts. Like there's comments that still get made on our posts that, that still, they sting a little bit. Like it just is what it is. So, and we knew that going into this. We knew that we would have people out there who would make critical remarks of things, but she's reading them all. I'm trying to get on and read some of them, but yeah, and I don't know if I've just got a messed up sense of humor, but I'm just like, oh, who is this that we know that is
and we're pretty sure that
so
like
who's lashing out? That's awesome. So yeah, I'm just putting little mental notes on, okay, I know who that person is. I'm going to watch and see what else they call. Oh, okay.
And there's people who are like Sister Wives fans. You guys are nuts. Like you totally are so. Yeah, I appreciate like how much you love this family and how much you love watching on the family and making sure that people are and finding out different contents about the family. I appreciate that so many people truly do love this family. They're an amazing family. But we're definitely not trying to ride coattails of relationships that we had 30 years ago. Well, we don't really care.
I didn't have a relationship with. I don't call it a relationship with her mom.
I only met Alice a couple of years ago.
No, that was more of a loathing. So thank you. And so some people's, it's kind of funny because I am actually in my mind putting it to some of the people who I think it is, because their opinion of me doesn't matter in real life, so why would it matter online?
I know.
It really is. I'm like, oh, okay, so.
Yeah.
I have haters in real life. I know you guys don't believe that, but yeah, there's some people that don't like me in real life, and I'm okay with that.
Only my exes, that's it. Somebody says, yes, breaking generational trauma takes time. It's a lot of work and growth. It really is. Who are you to be smirking at yourself for?
Just you said who they were.
Yeah. Somebody says you all triggered up.
Don't like me, and I'm okay with that. I'm pretty cool with that. So.
Yeah. And somebody says you all triggered a rabbit hole for me. Yeah, rabbit holes can get funny to get into. Let's see. So your family self-sufficient. Most people we knew were not. They were dirt poor. We were dirt poor, but we also didn't. We didn't get on government assistance.
So self-sufficient that my family is. My mom still has 50-barrel drums of beans from 50 years ago that they put away, that she's trying to give us kids. And I've taken some, but I don't know. I think they have if anything, I'd probably sprout them and plant them versus trying to eat them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. She has food storage. She prepared for the end of the world. We probably would have survived if the world did end for probably another 100 years. So with the food storage that they have in store up there.
Somebody says, well, you stuck it to your brother husband twice, married his ex twice. So true. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy says, love you both. Thank you so much for being so genuine. Thank you so much for that super chat. We really appreciate that. Oh, sorry, I was trying to get back to these because I rolled through the comments. Okay. Corey's sister said they didn't even get birth certificates till they were 13. Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't get my children birth certificates until my oldest was 6 or 7. That's how much we didn't want the government in our lives.
I got mine when I was young, but I had to go change it to my legal name now because they gave me my birth certificate in my old German. So
in the German spelling,
German spelling of my name, and so, but once I became an adult, I went down and changed my birth certificate to the American version of my name. So.
Yep. Somebody says, would the prophets ever go to Pinesdale to see the members up there? All the time.
Yeah, Owen stayed with our family a lot. They would come up and right along, probably why Cody and those guys came up there. But yeah, they'd come and stay at our house a lot. We had a huge house, and we had some people would give up rooms so that prophet could stay there.
And my brother, I have a brother who lives up there with a couple of his wives, and so my dad will go up there all the time to stay with them. So yeah, that happened a lot. And then even like the prophet before my dad, he had a lot of family up there as well. So the AUB, like they intermarry so often that, half of a family will move to Pinesdale, the other, they're all over. So a lot of times the prophets will go up there and stay with their kids.
Their kids and stuff like that.
And so my dad goes up. In fact, my dad didn't even come to our wedding. He was in Pinesdale at the time we got married. Somebody says, being self-sufficient is lovely and many things can be true at the same time, and icky cult stuff, but it can still be good and hard too.
Yep.
Exactly, because we did learn how to be a lot more self-sufficient.
Yeah, we're looking for the positives, and I appreciate a lot of the positives that came out. The hard work, the learning how to be self-sufficient, the connections that the community that I had bonds with people in the community because we were treated different. So and then to weed out that negative part of it, that poisonous part that attracts poisonous people into the community. So and it does. There are dogmas, there are certain things that attract. If something can be hidden or self-sufficient, you're going to get those people that are vile people trying to join that group, trying to get their way in there and trying to do, because if they play like they're righteous, if they play this way or that way, the community, and ask for forgiveness, but once they start abusing and doing destructive things within the community, a lot of times people would overlook it, and now within the AUB they're starting to get more and more strict and trying to push people like Tom Green's out of it.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, generations ago, you had a lot of righteous brethren that are now sitting in jail cells because these communities did push them out and into jail.
Yeah. And so I really feel like they are trying to clean things up. But then again, I mean, I look at some of the leadership right now and they're disgusting. And I'm so disgusted by a couple of the leaders, a couple of the apostles that they have on their leadership right now. It's hard to support that. It's hard to say, oh yeah, the AAB is kicking out the bad guys, when just kidding, they're exalting them to the leadership positions. That makes it even harder. So yeah, somebody says, Corey, I love your honesty about how you did and do love your parents.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's hard to find that balance because we don't want to be hurtful.
It's interesting in the show that we watched. He didn't want. He believed that his wife was doing best. I think is Kevin. What's his name? The one. He believed that his wife was doing best for what their
in the
kids.
Ruby Franke show, yeah.
I feel like
Kevin.
sometimes my parents did what they looked up to some of the leadership that they felt like was the best, and when they saw it wasn't working, or saw that wait a minute, that's not creating healthy children, then they would pull back and they changed. And my little brothers and sisters had completely different parents or parenting processes than us older ones did.
Yeah.
And people within the leadership would recommend a certain way to discipline children, or recommend this way if the kid was talking back or doing stuff like that. And so
yeah.
And my parents listened to it until there was obvious evidence that it wasn't working. And so
that's what we were talking about last night too, when we were sitting in the hot tub. Like, these people that do these things genuinely believe that they're doing them for the right reasons. They're not over there just like, oh, you know what, we're just going to support a cult because, you know, they genuinely believe that what they're doing is right.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to hate somebody for that when you know, their intentions are trying to do what is right, but the trauma that's associated with that is just, it's too much.
And I've talked to all of my parents. They all apologize. I've created relationships with them. As an adult, I've connected with them. So I appreciate who they are in human beings. And it wasn't all bad. I had good relationships. I had people that were upset when I was being excommunicated. That was the amazing part. Some of the good things that came out of me being excommunicated, there was a series of us that all got excommunicated. What did that do to the rest of my family? It woke them up to, these guys are corrupt.
Yeah.
These guys are evil men, and they're just after our daughters. It woke up not only...
a huge portion of your family.
Yeah. Huge portion of mine, including some of my adult or my parents. They were like, no, we don't want anything to do with that anymore. So, and they don't go to church. They don't have their little what is it, receipt saying that they pay a full
their temple recommend.
Kiss the prophet's ass. Receipt.
We're gonna get our lives like blocked.
Yeah.
You can hear like the Tourette's kick in. Someone says, I have major snark about Robin offering surrogacy on camera. Yeah, I do too. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that on a video because that has happened before and the trauma that was associated with what happened. So we'll talk a little bit about that on one of our videos. It's funny because we'll mention this. Hey, let's talk about this. And then later on, we'll talk about it. We're like, are we quite ready to share that story yet? We're not so sure. Because we don't want to hurt the people who are involved in it either. But that one, those people are long gone. We can talk about it later. And then somebody says, I think what frustrates fans so much is Cody presented himself as knowing right and wrong. His son should be gentlemen, and now it's just like he doesn't want to do just even basic right or wrong. And I agree with you on that. So go ahead.
They preach, this is the rules, this is that, and they're teaching their children what the rules are. And yet, do we follow them completely the way we should? No. And then when it comes out later that, oh, I didn't follow it because I made a covenant with this woman previous to this, and she's my soulmate, and so I didn't have to follow all the rules. I made those rules. I had made that agreement up in heaven before I even came down here. So they teach one thing.
Oh,
and
watching that
absolutely do a different
the
thing.
honeymoon special, both of us were like, what? We literally, so we're going to film that recap after we're done with this live. And both of us were just like, boom, what the hell? And we 4 pages. I have 4 pages of notes on a big notepad just from the honeymoon special. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. So somebody says, please.
To point out some of the brainwashing that even the OG wives were.
Oh, yeah.
On. Yeah, there's some.
And I'm sure that they look back at that now and they're starting to recognize that, but they didn't see it at the time. I didn't see it at the time. I said and did so many of the same things that these women said and did. I didn't see that was washing.
I feel like she's being selfish, but I need to be less selfish.
I need to go repent of my own sins.
Okay, well, wait a minute. I need to look inside myself and be less selfish or less jealous of these huge red flags.
Yeah, so that's going to be probably a pretty snarky episode we're going to do right after this. And we'll release that later tonight, just depending on how long it takes to do editing and stuff. And another thing I want to point out is we actually do have an AI processor that processes through our videos after we're done and takes out all the ums and the ams and because we're nervous when we talk. We are. I mean, you guys get the full unfiltered when we do a live.
You get my dirt.
But yeah, awesome. And so sometimes it might make it look like I talk over Corey when I'm not really. He just paused so long that AI shortened it.
I did a slow and then she started talking. But
it makes it look like I talked right over him, but it's AI cutting out Corey's brain freeze. Okay, please, you two dress up as Robin and Cody for Halloween next year. So, and then somebody says, they could go as Robin and Cody being a ball and chain. We could actually have fun with that and do some really fun stuff with that. I think that would be funny. Let's see.
Version of Cody.
Yeah. Some fans are so angry with Robin, and I say Robin doesn't pay my bills, so I'm not angry. I'm not as angry as the OG3 should be. Yeah, because apparently they were paying her bills. Let's see. They could go as already read that one. No more rhymes. Now I mean it. Anybody with a peanut? Oh my God, that's Corey's favorite stupid joke.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what movie that's from?
No, but I don't know how I don't know this because you say this all the time. I didn't know it was from a show. I thought you just made it up.
Princess Bride.
Oh, duh. I knew that. Duh. Yes, I did know that. What the hell? No, I knew
Classic.
That. Somebody
Where I got my marriage vows things to marry kids. Yeah.
Someone says, my adult child said that the best thing I ever did to make our relationship work was to acknowledge and apologize for my failures in their childhood. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things.
It is. You got to apologize. I apologize to my kids all the time that I wasn't funnier.
Yep, I agree. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to catch up to the comments because I'm like
apologize every time I tell one of these jokes and they sit and roll their eyes at me. I'm so proud of the children that retell my jokes. I'm brainwashing them.
If what they want is the daughters, then why do they treat them so badly? Are these men taught to do that, and why? That was more in your family situation where they do want, because you had made the comment that they wanted the girls but not the boys.
Well, because if they can, they're okay to have their sons to marry into our family to get the daughters, but they don't want my dad's young men marrying within their group.
Yeah.
So marrying their daughters. So yeah, it's absolutely. So yeah, I don't know what the question means. That if it's somebody else that.
Why wouldn't they treat Why wouldn't they treat the family better if they wanted the girls out of the family? They don't need to. They can just get the girls to marry in, and they disregard everyone else.
The girls are interested, or a lot of times the girls that they've wanted are married within the thing, and now they can treat the family poor. It wasn't. There was a whole bunch of different. There was a whole lot of politics going on up in the AUB and Pinesdale. So
somebody says, I'm totally telling my husband it's AI when I talk over him from now on. It's so funny. That's so true. Well, I'm not even the one who thought that. Corey's the one who thought that. So it's hilarious. And then Katie says, or someone else Passing for Normal says, looking forward to your take on the honeymoon. And then Katie says, Mary didn't get a honeymoon like that. She got to go to my childhood living room. It's so true. Cody and Mary honeymooned at Corey's house. So there you go.
Not my house, my dad's
Well,
house.
his parents' house.
Yeah.
His parents' house up there in Pinesdale. So that's hilarious. Okay, this is very low of me, but do you have any guess on why Robin isn't spending any of her millions on fillers, plastic surgery, despite being so shallow? Cody certainly seems to be helping himself. I actually think she has had, just based on, because we're watching season 1, and just based on a side profile, I think she's had nose stuff done, but that would just be
speculation.
I have no idea. I've never met Robin personally. I didn't even know who Robin was until the show came on. And then I met her mom. Her mom came up and introduced herself to me at a class or training or something that we were at. I didn't know the family. I didn't know anything about them. Now I knew Robin's original other mother. I knew her and I knew that family, but I didn't know Robin at all. So somebody says just glue ramen noodles to a shower cap and then you can be Cody.
Yes.
So
Robin's spending her money on PR campaigns to try to make her look better. I really like Robin.
What?
Yeah, she ain't spending, but she's spending her money on trying to get better PR out there. So
yeah, she's not spending her money on her look. She's spending on her PR team.
Yeah, or dolls or whatever it is. So
let's see.
She's creating a society of dolls that like her.
Yeah. Let's see. I tried to apologize to my daughter for pretty much everything, and she still won't speak to me. She was mad at me for calling her out for bad mouthing her sister's fiance. Oh well, I did my part. Yeah, I mean it is. I feel like people have to heal at their own timeline and their own. Like you cannot force somebody, just like you can't force someone out of a cult. People really have to come to these conclusions on their own, and when they want to heal, then there's nothing that can stop them from healing. But if they don't want to heal, then there's nothing that can force them to heal. And so you just love people, in my opinion, just love them where they're at, and you just love them through whatever it is that they're going through.
Yeah, and I had more, to be honest, I had more appreciation for my dad and some of the things that he did for us as children when I became a dad. When I have 5 kids running around the house.
Right.
He had 39 of us, and he would still joke. He would still. There were times when it wasn't that way, but 39 kids running around the same house, I don't know how I would have handled that. I'm more of a recluse, so yeah, I have appreciation for the ways that he did show up. Every Thursday night they had Relief Society, and so all of the mothers would get up, get dressed, and go over to Relief Society. And Dad stayed home and watched all of us, and then we'd get to sit around and watch Twilight Zone, get us scared.
You gotta watch regular TV.
Yeah, we'd watch Twilight Zone, get all the kids scared, and then he'd turn out all the lights in the house except for the bathroom, and then we had to come out and look for him and get scared by him. That's something that was a great memory that I had as a kid that I do with my kids now, so and my grandkids. So he would connect with us and scare us around the house. I love scary movies to this day,
right?
Other than Sister Wives, because I get to watch it, get all scared, and then I can scare my son, hang out with my son, do stuff like that. So those were some of my memories that I really, really did enjoy. That not everybody growing up in polygamy got that. They didn't get to watch. My dad, in some senses, was a rebel within the AUB. Yeah. That's why we had a Christmas tree. We watched scary movies. There were certain things that was against the teachings of the AUB that my dad went, too bad. We're going to have this as part of something that he enjoyed growing up. So.
Yep, and that's why I think honestly it is. It's just so important to like know where people are and love people for where they're at. Like love your dad for the experiences that you had with him in those moments, because then there was a lot of moments when there wasn't happiness, you know. And so I feel it's just like just learning to love and accept especially your children or your parents where they're at. And that's hard. Like I'm not very good at that with my parents for sure. But there was one question up here I wanted to get to. Oh, can you explain what garments are one day? So we can actually make a video about this too, but garments are, and there's a ton of like YouTube videos on this subject too. Garments are what you receive in the Mormon church. They have temples that you go through and you receive endowments where you receive like promises that you make to God and that God makes to you. If you follow certain commandments, then you get all these blessings and stuff. And so a garment is a physical representation of those promises that were made and promises that you would receive. And it's something to be worn against your body, under underwear, under any intimate clothes. It's supposed to be right next to your skin, and it's supposed to be a reminder, a daily reminder of the promises that you made and the promises you were supposed to get and the blessings you're supposed to receive. And so back in the original garment that was made was all the way up to your, neck and wrists and feet. And so the AUB still holds on to those original garments and still wears those original garments. The Mormon church has adjusted theirs almost to the point where they're a little bit unrecognizable from the original one. No diss on that whatsoever. That's just what the church has decided to do. The AUB has decided to keep them original. So in the Mormon church, a lot of women can, apparently they just released a tank top one. So now you can wear one where your shoulders are now showing. The AUB doesn't have anything like that. The AUB, you have to stay completely covered. So hopefully that answers that question. They are something that you do commit to wearing every day for the rest of your life. And they're just basically, it's just so that you always have that reminder of those covenants and promises. So I wore them for years in my first marriage until I left the AUB, and then I took them off. Let's see. Let me see if I can get to some more of these. We'll go on. We'll stay on for another 20 minutes, and then we'll probably wrap up so we have time to get our recap of the honeymoon. Corey, who still lives in your family's 6,000 square foot home?
Yeah. My mom lives in the basement of that home, so we still go up there and visit her and go in the basement. And then I have a brother that lives in the upstairs portion of that. So
yeah.
A brother who's still part of the AUB. So
his brother and his
family.
wives both live upstairs, and then his mom and a couple of his siblings live downstairs still. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we're going to be going up there in the next couple weeks, and then we will do some videos on that. Plastic surgery in the AUB, is that a thing? It's big in the LDS church. It's not that, it's actually not at all recommended or even in the AUB, because, and another, it always goes back to finances. When you have that many people in your family, how can you justify one person pulling out that many resources for plastic surgery?
Well, it's vanity.
It is, yeah.
So
yeah, we were taught, like, I was literally taught, you don't worry about your stretch marks. You don't worry about, like, I never even wore makeup. I never, like, never did skin routines.
Earrings
yeah.
that you're wearing.
Yeah, the earrings.
All
you don't
considered vanity.
Anything that's vain. And what's funny too is, like, I got these piercings done for migraines, and like some people that have had those done have literally had to go get special permission from the leadership of the church. Oh great, now I flipped my ring above my hearing aid. There we go. And so yeah, it's all vanity stuff. There's no excuse for that. Now I do know quite a few polygamous women who have gone and gotten boob jobs. So that is, like, I think Utah's like #1 in the world for that. And so because,
but you don't say anything.
But you don't talk about it ever.
It's like being a celebrity. You don't go tell the whole world that you went and got that done. You gotta be humble about it.
Yeah. And so that's so.
The Lord lifted up my.
The Lord lifted me up. Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, it would be selfish and self-centered of somebody to think that now they could save their grocery money, I guess, and eventually go pay for something like that. But that would be really hard to do.
And as long as they paid 10% tithe on what they spent, they'd probably be fine.
Oh my gosh. And so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do know quite a few that have gone and gotten boob jobs. See, that's the problem that you have with plastic surgery too. is the fact that you are constantly in competition with another woman for your husband's attention. Now you have 5 babies and your body goes to hell. What do you do about that? Like, then you feel unattractive to your husband. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, I feel like it's so controversial, even in your own mind. Like,
well, you need to talk about that too, because you're not supposed to be having sexual intercourse only to reproduce. You shouldn't be doing it for pleasure, and a lot of them don't. Sorry.
Okay, let's see. Now you got a lot of marriages. Marriage. From Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see.
My classic line.
I know it is. You got to renew your marriage. Corey went and got an online reverendship, right?
I was a reverend for a year.
So that he could marry our daughter, so he could officiate our daughter's wedding. I know, I got to stop saying it like that.
Just like in all the other religions, if I didn't pay another round this year, I lost my reverendship.
I know, and I think you should make sure you keep it.
Okay.
Okay, somebody says, is Mary still in the middle of healing? She seems slightly reluctant letting it all go, unconsciously delaying it, or say compared to Christine. I think that we all
are.
Yeah, I think for the rest of their lives they'll be healing from it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we all heal differently, and healing for each one of us looks differently. And so I think that the way Christine deals with her healing just looks different than the way that Mary deals with hers. And so, but I think that for the rest of their lives, they will be healing. They will be going through religious deconstruction. It's just part of, like, here we are 30 years later. We both feel pretty healed about our stuff. We can make fun of ourselves. We can talk about things. But even still, things come up, and then we start to get a little bit triggered by them, like we have been for the last 10 days.
It really is. It's one of those things where you're like, no, I'm over this. Those people, the family that still chose to be there, that's their choice, and I don't want to take away free agency and all of those things. But then again, I get frustrated when the community basically says, no, we're not doing these things anymore. We're not excommunicating people. We're not doing this. We're not shaming people publicly over the pulpit. We're not, these are those things it's like the AUB doesn't learn from their mistakes, and they still do, because that's the precedence that's been set down. That's the proper teaching, and we're not going to change to the world's pressure. And so then when somebody else that gets their names publicly announced over the pulpit, and people sit and listen to it and don't go, what the, but that's the way they believe. And so then I get frustrated, like, are you kidding me? You guys sat there? Why don't you get up and walk out? But I can't make them get up and walk out, so then I get frustrated. And then I go, goose fraba, it's not my problem. So they chose to do it. I chose to deal with certain stuff to get through my healing process. So at least they're recognizing it and seeing it, and maybe someday when it happens closer, they'll be like, okay, I'm done. So
right. And honestly, I mean, I feel like we use humor a lot in our healing, but we have done some like our ayahuasca experiences are no joke, but those are some really like tough ways to heal, but they're so effective too. And I think everybody and so I think Mary, one of the things, I think the reason we see Mary so much on it is because she's publicly working on taking her experiences and working to try to help other people with that. And so I think that's why we see Mary's a little bit more, where Christine has always had a very positive, since we were small children, she always had a very positive outlook on life. She always had a very positive, always tried to see the best in people, always tried to have a smile on her face. Like, that's just the way Christine has always processed, at least in my experience of her. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have those shitty things behind the scenes,
Well, it's interesting because you see when Janelle's talking to Christine or to Mary, she's like, really? You don't think Cody's got our back? He would do that? And it does. It takes Janelle going, no, I don't think he does. And it probably took a year before Mary's like, because her belief system is that he would never do that. Those are the belief systems that spiritually he should.
Well, it's because Mary would never
that.
do that to somebody.
Exactly.
Mary would never financially screw somebody over, so she doesn't believe other people would either.
She believes Cody has a lot more integrity than.
He's a lot more gentlemanly. I just laughed. I was like, oh my gosh.
And it took probably a year of dealing with getting run around before she's like, oh, okay, there it is. Now I start to see it.
Yeah.
And so it does. It takes time for people raised within a community and a cult like this to have your eyes opened up to, wait a minute, it takes time. It took 18 years of indoctrination of being raised in this, and it's taking way more than that to unlearn a lot of the garbage we were taught. And so, and to point it out and make fun of it. So
somebody says garments to a Victoria's Secret and Victoria's Secret on top. I think people know why we about Victoria, because that was new debt after joining with Cody. See, that's what's so funny to me. So I told a story a couple lives ago, I think, about a sister wife who went through her other sister wife's underwear drawer and pulled out lacy underwear, and was like, came in and like threw them in her face in front of the whole family. And this was a huge no-no, because it's like, how are you wearing these? Are you wearing these on top of your garments? Are you wearing, so it brought in that whole,
you shouldn't be tempting our husband.
Yeah, like, what are you doing showing up in lace? Like, if she's wearing lace, I'm wearing lace. And so it's like this competition of who can be sexy or whatever. Like, yeah, it's hard to be sexy when you're wearing long underwear from your neck all the way down to your feet. And so that's why I was taught never to worry if you were sexy, or if you were, look, I don't know. In my first marriage, you're supposed to be intimate with your garments on. And so, yeah, I didn't.
In her second and third marriage, she's never been intimate
He's
with
begged,
her garments.
and I'm like, absolutely not. So, no, and so.
Afraid of lightning or.
Yeah, so that's why.
Leprosy
things
or
like that
we get cursed with.
Oh my gosh.
For making fun of it. So.
Somebody says, I too discovered your channel because of Sister Wives, but I've stayed because of your insightful perspective on collective life experiences and traumas. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to apologize if people find us because of Sister Wives. That's what's in the public right now. That's what people know. I won't even apologize for that. So all you Reddit people can just suck it. Let's see. I wonder if you could
Not Reddit people. AUBs that have Reddit, because you don't want to find out.
Known?
Yeah. And her exes, I know who you are.
I wonder if you could overprice your Victoria doll and sell it to Robin. She's sitting right here too, right behind me. I forgot she was on there. Let's see. I love your videos. So happy I caught you guys live. Feeling like it's sitting around with friends and just chatting. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a minute since I was like, I don't know if we can do another live, because we've been like on this heavy energy. So I'm like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to. We were talking about the Lord lifting us up where we belong. Mm-hmm. Somebody says that. Okay, we're going to try to catch up on the comments here. What are you saying?
The doll has long underwear on. We could tell her it's...
She does.
It's a prophetess doll. Mm-hmm. And see if we can get some good money out of that. I wonder how much they pay for it.
Somebody says it's obvious Robin got an augmentation compared to her honeymoon. And a lot of polygamous women do this, and it's just not talked about. They just don't bring it up because that would be a huge no-no. And it's funny too, because I was 17 when I got pregnant with my first baby. I didn't even know what boobs were because I just didn't ever grow them. And so it's so hilarious because after we had our daughter together, I was like, I don't even care. I threw every single dogmatic thing out the window and went and got them done. And then I started learning about some of the health risks, and then ended up taking them out. Like, I think 8 years ago, I ended up taking them out. Let's see. And so because at that point I'm like, oh, this guy loves me. I'm not going to worry about whether. So I'm like looking at you like, right? You do love me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My second wife was full on Gentile. Now she's just a heathen. So
let's see.
Check out her implants and started a podcast, which was worse.
Oh my gosh. No, let's see. I'm trying to get a catch up here a little bit. I think Christine accepted the reality of her situation more quickly than Mary did. Christine had better boundaries than Mary, at least eventually. So I actually saw a clip on TikTok yesterday about, I did not realize that Christine had a real estate license. So Christine knew the value of having her name on title and could adjust the title to her property accordingly. So yeah, I think Christine's eyes got opened up to a lot of how things could go down, and she protected herself. Where Janelle knew it too, but Janelle believed so much in Cody and his ability to, where Christine from day one, you see this in season 1, where
she's questioning the red flags.
She's seeing Robin and she's like, no, this woman's coming after our stuff.
She's the most verbally disobedient, if you will.
Right.
And
right.
kind of snapping back at him. I feel like that in season 1, she's starting to question. She doesn't want to believe it, but she still has those underlying questions. She's seeing too many red flags, and it takes her a while.
Well, and she says right off that bat that she would never be friends with Robin because she doesn't trust her. So she positions herself into a position where she is okay. And I respect Christine for that. It's not even necessarily that she doesn't trust Cody as much as she doesn't trust Robin. And in this society, unfortunately, one person is a bad apple and they don't have your best interest in mind. And yeah, look what happens. You lose all the equity in your home. You get nothing. And so I think that is one of the biggest, scary things for these women, is because it just takes one person to come in and financially destroy a family. And I think you're seeing that. I thought AUB didn't want people on social media. They don't. Right now, they are extremely discouraging people from being on social media, eliminating social media completely out of their lives. So yeah, it's
not only don't they want people on social media, but this is just my guess. I'm guessing that there are righteous, worthy people that might be getting on Reddit and lambasting because they don't want us to get big either.
Right.
Because, yeah, and so that's what my opinion is. So that's why I don't really care when it gets hard, because she reads all of them and she's questioning.
Well, I try to read some of them, but sometimes my day job can take over and I don't have the time to do it.
And I'm like, no, I'm guessing that's so and so, don't care what they think or say. Yeah. I'm guessing that's so and so, don't care what they think or say. So I'm still going to be funny. I'm still going to be. But yeah,
we're just going to enjoy it.
I do. And that's the thing, is she handles it really well. She's like, thanks for letting us know on the way out the door. Enjoy it. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. So those
I don't say that.
I know, but it's.
I'm like, no need to make an announcement about your exit. Just feel free to leave. It's okay. So.
But unfortunately, there are certain people in her sphere, I think, that won't stop watching. They're so curious.
I know. So somebody says, speaking of heavy energy, have you all seen The Handmaid's Tale? It makes me think of extreme polygamy. Handmaid's Tale, I am so addicted to that show, and it gives me the worst PTSD. Like, I just sit there like, oh, it actually doesn't even make me feel, it makes me feel angry, because I watch it and I feel so much that way. My first husband, my ex-husband, was very much a dictator like that. Very much, I was to be seen, not heard. That is just such a description of how we grew up in so many levels. And so that's what I was telling Corey. I'm like, maybe we should do a Handmaid's Tale, because the end of the series is coming up in a couple of weeks. And yeah, that is just, that one just lights me up. That one pisses me off.
This is where I feel like that everything within Scripture, there is going to be the craziest people will get in there and cling on to scriptures that other people look at and like, that's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting. That's a story and these people come in and they're fanatical and they push their fanaticism to the extreme where they're doing stuff. And so that's where I feel like a lot of times communities like this need to be more open, need to be more welcomed, so that those fanatics don't have a chance to get in there and get a hold into those communities.
Yeah.
I also believe too that we should start talking about, because I watched even within this show that we had, where the husband has been so brainwashed that what his wife and what they're doing and
Ruby
scared,
Franke.
that until he sees it with his own eyes, and that's where a lot of these people get, no, this is just an attack from the outside. That's why I don't want to necessarily attack. I want to just make a fun of how we grew up. I don't want to attack it, because once you attack, they pull back in there and say, see, he's been possessed by the devil, and he's doing the devil's work, and I'm not. The devil doesn't want to employ me, so.
You've tried? You filled out the application?
I tried to sell a soul, and my soul, and he didn't want it, so.
Well, somebody says, I'm avoiding the news because of the political stuff. I'm thankful for the distraction. Okay, thank you for saying that, because I didn't realize that the political stuff was starting to happen until we were about to go on. I'm like, oh, I hope we actually can get viewers today, because there's so much politically going on. And then I was like, you know what, we're just going to do it anyways, because we don't watch a lot of that stuff anyways. And then somebody says, I'm late to the chat today, but you guys are making a lot of news in the sister wife community with your theory that Cody and Robin were sealed before their TV wedding. Oh,
absolutely they were.
They were 100% were.
Absolutely they were.
So
they wouldn't.
I didn't realize that's why we were making waves.
They wouldn't have a TV wedding until they were officially married first. That's the first step. And then they can go on and have their reception and all of that stuff. If they went and did a wedding before they went through the endowment house, they probably would have had to wait. The community or the leadership would probably say, well, why'd you get married legally first? You should.
Well, they didn't get married legally because.
Well, yeah, but put on a reception.
Right. Yeah, they would never.
So there would have been questions.
Yeah.
They needed to go through the process with the AUB before then they announced it to the community that they were now married, or TV. So absolutely they were married before.
Yeah, I think February, February, March is when they got married. Someone says that Reddit troll was coming hard for Mel and Corey. Don't let the haters bring you guys down. That person clearly has some issues. Oh my gosh, they have come at me hard. What's funny is I was never even on Reddit, and my daughter-in-law, or soon-to-be daughter-in-law, my son's getting married at the end of this year. She did a post on a Sister Wives page, oh gosh, like 5 months ago, and said, she's like, oh my gosh, Melanie, I saw you got brought up on Reddit. So she does this post, oh yeah, that's my mother-in-law. And it got over 1,000 upvotes, and people, they're like, please ask her to do an AMA and ask me anything. And I was like, so then she begged me for months to do it. And I was like, I'm not doing that. What am I going to say, right? And so I didn't really want to do one, but she had over 1,000 upvotes on this little comment. And then like 400 or 500 people like, oh my God, you hit the mother-in-law jackpot. You did da da da. So then she finally talks me into doing this and sits with me the first time I did and asked me anything. And this same troll came on, like, just went off on me about self-promoting and riding coattails and just all sorts of fun stuff. And so I didn't put this connection that it's the same troll doing every single post. And so, people ask for something, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I could do that. I don't know. So I sat one day and just did a big Ask Me Anything. But we prefer to do these lives where people can ask us anything on the lives, because then we both have the feedback and it's not just me and my thumbs trying to answer questions. So yeah.
And you've made it, you're pretty big, or enough people are watching if you get a hater or two.
Oh, I know. So, I just think it's funny.
Someday I'll get big enough that somebody hates me out there. I think that Redditor hated you, not me. Secretly, he likes me or she likes me.
It's because the whole world likes you. Everybody likes you. Okay.
It's because the other haters don't dare get on there. Come on, haters, get on here and talk to us.
Yeah.
So I know you're watching. So.
So somebody says, I'm referring to how Cody felt about Christine before they had kids. He acted like it was a burden and sacrifice to be with her. She was kind of nerdy. I don't think she is, but I love her, but I don't get it. Yeah, Cody is very image oriented, and he was back then too, very image oriented. And Christine has always been very secure in herself and can come across a little nerdy or aggressive, but I don't think she's nerdy or aggressive at all. I just think she
was funnier than him.
Yeah,
way funnier than him. So
yeah, and people who can't be funny get intimidated by people who are.
And Cody was getting sick and tired of giving those courtesy laughs. So
yep.
Jokes.
Somebody says I'm 100% there for a video of ayahuasca experiences for trauma healing. You guys now have my total attention. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do want to share that. We are at a point in our, we still have a hard time talking about our ayahuasca experiences without all of the emotion and the tears and the crying. And so, because they're such a spiritual experience for us, but yeah, I would be totally down to starting something like that. Because we have had a lot of really, really spiritual experiences on that. Okay, let's see. They're talking, Robin, everyone's wondering if Robin has thyroid issues. I have no idea. Somebody says, right when I encountered a Sister Wives troll, I just assumed they were part of the AUB or Cody or Robin. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's my conclusion. Let's see.
Or her exes that never got to talk.
Probably. I have a really hard time with Handmaid's Tale. It freaks me out and it scares me. Please do a Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, I really would be. I would enjoy doing Handmaid's Tale way over Sister Wives, because Handmaid's Tale, there's just so much. It's so eerily parallel to the way that we grew up. For a woman, it's not for. I mean, for Corey, it's different.
Well, it's just it's hard. It's because I'd have to learn. I mean, yes, we did learn a lot about the Bible and all of the belief systems in the Bible and stuff like that. But sometimes even the belief systems in the Bible were disregarded because Joseph Smith had given you a higher law within the Doctrine and Covenants. So I did read the Bible multiple times growing up, but I mostly concentrated on the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, all of these higher teachings. Right. So a lot of Handmaid's Tale has a lot of Christian dogma in it, or Christianity dogma wrapped up in it. And I went from religious or polygamous dogma, deleted that, went over, deleted that, and a lot of people go over. And I didn't want to learn more about the Christian dogma either. I'm just looking to be a decent human being.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of stuff that I've learned that we're all humans. We're all part of the human race. We all should love each other and not hate and beat up on each other. And so, whole different belief system around that. And I'm more interested in healing myself than following somebody else's dogma or trying to relearn a dogma. I want to unlearn all of the dogmas I grew up with. So,
right. And
just be a decent, loving human being with some snarkiness on the side. So,
somebody says, could you all do Big Love? We're 100% doing Big Love. That one's going to be...
We recognize that one more.
Yeah, that one, we're 100% doing that. But I have also not read the book or read the article. Corey's read it, The Lonely Polygamist by Brady Udall. And I haven't read that yet, so I want to read that before we do Big Love, but we are 100% doing Big Love. It's just... I did a poll on YouTube. Hey, you guys want us to cover Sister Wives or Big Love? And it came back overwhelmingly Sister Wives. So that's why we started with that.
And we're just sick of those trollers voting for us that way.
Right?
You trolls, get on there and vote for Big Love then, if you don't want us riding coattails. So
right. Let's.
And hey, we're not riding the Browns' coattails. We're on her dad's coattails. They're making it.
My dad's going to heaven. Why would we
way
ride the
better
Browns?
Coattails. Why would I get on the Browns' coattails?
I know. Like, please, we don't need to do that. Okay. I know. Here's the thing, though. We should totally just create our own coattails for hell's sakes. I'm glad that we can be a distraction from all the politics. There's a whole lot going on. Let's see. It's true, though, Mary. That's why we need ex-cult members, but especially AUBs, to validate the misogyny and the abuse. Yeah, I agree. That there's a lot that happens, and I feel like there's a lot that we could. A lot of myths that maybe we could dispel by talking and sharing our experiences. I saw comments like that when Gwen Brown was doing her YouTube, and it's like, hello, it's her life. There's always going to be haters out there. Oh, and I totally know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really do try not to let it get to me personally, but I just think it's funny that, yeah, I just think people online are funny. And, go ahead.
Even my haters think I'm funny. So do they really hate me? So
I know. You're not a hater at this point. You're a fan.
You're a fan.
And
big
so,
guy.
yeah. So, and I never, I feel like trying to tell our experiences with as much love and compassion for the people who are involved as possible is really our goal. And if we talk about the Browns, so be it. The Browns come up. And so let's see, you guys are both so open and thoughtful in your responses. I have learned a ton from you. You're authentic. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Shrooms are under therapeutic setting, also are very, very healing. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
I agree.
Let's see, was the ayahuasca a life changer? It completely changed our lives. And we did it right after we got we were remarried. Mm-hmm. So we had gotten divorced for 2 years, and we had gotten remarried, and we were really in the process of working to heal through our traumas from just our religious upbringing, and then the traumas that we went through while we were divorced.
Yeah.
And ayahuasca changed our entire lives for that. And it really helped us, like, I really feel like it changed our perspective and gave us we went together and did it together at a resort, and changed the way that even we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
One of the best things we've ever done.
That I try to communicate now with my family and and the understanding of what my parents went through and what I have gone through, and there's always going to be. They went through a lot trying to things that I didn't even see them battling within the community and with the group. Yeah. The stands that they made against those people to help us, to raise us different than, so we didn't go as deep into the indoctrination. So.
Well, and I feel like too, what ayahuasca did for us, for me at least, I don't want to speak for Corey, is the fact that I saw the traumas that my parents went through, and it gave me a different level of compassion towards my parents and empathy towards my parents than I had ever had before. Before I just thought, how ignorant how do you do this in complete ignorance? And yet, doing ayahuasca, I realized that there was actual love. My parents were trying to do what they believed was right. They still, like my dad's still trying to do what he thinks is right. And so, I feel like ayahuasca gave both of us, you can vouch for that, if, just for you, like a different level of compassion towards your dad.
To be able to speak out. As a child, I asked questions, I spoke out, and I got that pushed down inside of me. And so for years, I never spoke out. And so one of the big things with that was Melly's like, sit down and talk to these people. And I'm like, my first instinct is no, I don't have. But that was an experience where I'm like, no, I can talk. When I don't speak, then I bind up, I bring pain into my body.
Yeah.
Because I'm hiding or I'm pushing down emotions, my thoughts, things like that. And so I would have never sat down and started talking if I hadn't done this. So,
Yeah.
because I was trained as a child that if your opinion is different than this, then you don't speak. You don't get to speak. You don't get to have an opinion about that you get to verbalize. So, because it's against the way that you were raised and taught. And so, yes, then you get out in the world. Yes, I'm going to teach my kids something different, but I don't want to. So that's the battle that I'm having is, do I speak out? And I have the right to speak out. I have the right to release that energy from out of my body.
And we are not promoting any sort of illegal activities or drugs. Nope. We have to be careful about this conversation because on one of our other lives we got flagged for talking about this too much. So we'll leave it at that, and then we'll create a video.
Do it legally. We did it legally.
We did it legally, yeah. And so we'll create a video around this and talk about this because I definitely don't want to get our live. I know I'm like, we'll wrap up at 5 and it's 5:15 because we get going and it's just we love talking. We love answering questions. Tracy says, all right, my bedroom is deep purged and I did it with this chat. Right on, that's awesome. Somebody says, many who use ayahuasca experience the divine as feminine. Did you? Absolutely. And does the AUB teach about a heavenly mother? They do. Very much so, and very much to be very respected. Handmaid's Tale is also fictional, so you can worry about not worry about calling out real people, but rather can speak to how you see similarities in your own experiences. Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of the reasons why I would love to do a Handmaid's Tale. You guys might see like the total the psycho side of me come out as I'm like and this and this and this.
And they use that's the most amazing part is they use scripture to justify what they're doing, and there's so much scripture written that each person can analyze it any way they want and justify their behavior and their actions based off some scripture that they can find out there.
Right.
So depends on what you want to find and what you want to come up with. You can justify any one of your actions based off some scripture written down, something that somebody said.
Right. You're still getting laughs about your Snell Michelle joke.
It's a classic
He literally
joke.
I was talking to my mom right before we went live, and my mom and Corey are like the same person sometimes, I swear. They say you marry your parents, but yeah, I swear my mom and Corey are so similar. And so I had my mom on my hearing aids, and so I had to put her on speaker so that Corey could hear her.
So I could get that courtesy
so Corey
laugh
could
that
get
she's so good
the
at.
benefit of the laughter. My mom laughed appropriately at the joke for him.
See, I even do a courtesy laugh for her, but I'm just laughing at myself in my own head.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Everyone's saying make sure to hit that like button. Thank you guys so much.
You guys are amazing.
Bill Paxton is great as well. Bill Paxton is my favorite in that, although there's a scene right at the very, like on the second episode, I think, where he's like, he tells her and informs her that she needs, Barb, his first wife, that she needs to give him her paycheck. I need you to put that in the family account next week. There's no, hey, can you do this? Hey,
are you asking or are you telling?
Are you asking or telling me?
Well,
I'm telling you, I'm the priesthood leader. Oh my God, it's so funny.
What I love about that too, you could ask the question about, is there plastic surgery? Probably, yes. There is plastic surgery that probably goes on in the AUB. You just don't talk about it. Just like what they showed in this movie, that you're not supposed to go get on Viagra. I guarantee every man in AUB just doesn't talk about it. They're all on it.
Oh my gosh. That's so bad. Somebody says, I have The Lonely Polygamist on my shelf. Yes, please. We should do a book club. Yeah, I haven't read it yet. I really want to. Let's see. I couldn't watch the latest season of The Handmaid's Tale because it felt so real. Yeah, it triggers me a lot, but not in it motivates me is what I should say.
It does.
Instead of triggering me, it motivates me to speak out even more so that we don't have this.
So that it never goes down that crazy. Those who speak, the only reason that things like that happens because those who should have an opinion different don't speak out enough. So,
those of us that should speak out and can speak out don't. I mean, for years I didn't. I only started speaking out because my sister went public.
I didn't even think of that.
And what?
It could be my favorite. My favorite of the online people's mothers could be my hater. I don't think she would. Yeah,
Oh
she
my
probably
gosh.
does hate me.
See, this is where Corey has a brief pause, and I just sat here patiently trying not to cover up that pause.
She might be my hater.
It might be.
Cool.
Yeah. Somebody says, Melanie, can you tell me, is your hearing aid the new ones that came out by Apple that are hearing aids, but also for listening to music? No, mine are old. I need to actually probably update mine soon. I think mine are like 7 years old or something. They're like old school. And so they're uncomfortable. I don't wear them all the time, but I do if I'm trying to, because I've also read that if you don't wear them, dementia comes on earlier. And so, and I've been feeling signs of early signs of dementia. And so I try to wear them as often as I can so that I can not have issues with that later.
And she does need to hear that nefarious revelation that she's getting.
Really, I don't, Corey and I work from home together. And a lot of times it's just the two of us, so I won't wear them, just so that I'll be like, I didn't hear what you said, babe, sorry. So let's see. Your opinion helps me understand why they put up with so much and how everything works. And it's true. I mean, I know the wives get a lot of frustration and sometimes hate online for staying and putting up with it, but there is reasons why they do. Let's see, besides Alice, what haters does Corey have?
And sometimes when we're just sitting here alone, I won't even say anything, I'll just mouth it because she doesn't have her hearing aids in, and I know she's not listening because then she gives me the courtesy laugh, and I'm like, I didn't say anything.
You're so dumb. You're so dumb. Let's see. Let's see, I'm going to try to catch up really quick. Let's see, you guys have lived this life. You aren't riding anyone's coattails. From a religious perspective, Mel is more interesting than the Browns. Well, thank you. Thank you. Did you guys do it together or separate? We went together. All of our experiences with ayahuasca have been together. Just because I feel like we do everything together.
It's a separate experience.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have your own individual experience, but when we go to the actual resort or the place that we go to, then we do it together. Then we always go together.
Yeah. It was kind of cool. They separated us into...
Yeah.
It was interesting because I'll tell you this part of it. I was working to get over there was some child parent stuff. I wanted to have more of a connection with my father. My father was ex-military. Without even telling these guys any of that stuff, I end up in a Maloka with all ex-military people that were there doing this for post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I had such a great connection, with people just like my father, which was so healing. And I got to sit with these guys and talk with them. And understand, understand my father.
Yeah.
So,
and it's hard to understand some of this,
the way
that we're raised. It's hard to understand that your parent could actually have love or compassion for you, or like.
And does.
I questioned all the time why did my parents even have me? Did they even want me? Like, if I'm going to go through all of this trauma, why? And so I think that's one of the biggest things that we both got out of that experience was that maybe we were loved and that we were okay to be loved.
Yeah.
So
it's okay. It's okay to be loved and love yourself. So love who you've become and.
Right. This is one of the reasons why,
It will be a hard thing. I'll have my tissues right here the whole time I'm telling you guys about my experience. So it was amazing.
I don't think there's been
a
time that we have shared our experience and not gotten emotional, because it's such a spiritual experience for both of us at such a deep core level.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
a lot of forgiveness, not only to my parents, but for myself and for myself too. So, and then I'm okay. I'm a good guy. I grew up this way. I've changed. I'm learning. My parents are proud of me. Holy cow. And it's okay to have your parents be proud of you. So, because I'm proud of myself. So, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Recommend it.
We recommend it to everybody. If you're in a place of healing at that place, not everybody.
You have to search for it.
Yeah.
I was searching for a connection with my parents and to see if I was worthy of love. So, and I found it. So.
And that is one of the things about being raised in a cult is like, am I good enough just for me, for being who I am? Or am I good enough only because of the things that I have to do in order to be loved? I have to do this to be loved. I have to do that to be loved. And so I feel like that is one of the things that this particular modality of healing allows you to see, that you can be loved just for who you are, not necessarily the actions you have to perform.
Yeah, because of my rebellion, because of excommunication, because I didn't feel like I was worthy to be loved.
Yeah.
I absolutely had fallen so far. I was not worthy of love, and so if my parents showed love or pride, I didn't see it. I was ignorant of it because my belief system said I was not worthy of that love. So.
Yep. These are core.
Sorry guys, man, no, I'm getting
don't apologize. We love it. I feel like these are the things that, like, when you're healing from any sort of religious or dogmatic, it molds who you are as such a young child. And there's layers upon layers upon layers that you're trying to heal that you don't even know are there. And I feel like this healing modality helps to break open a lot of those layers. And every time we've done it, it's been different, a different experience for us. So we've done.
I didn't think I was ever going to get emotional on these like I was the comedy here. Sorry.
No, you're the most in touch with your. I'm the logical thinker, and Corey's definitely the more emotional one. That's where we can get tripped up sometimes, because I tend to get very masculine energy and he tends to get very feminine energy in that regard. That's not a bad thing. You're extremely nurturing. Our kids are extremely well nurtured and loved by their father in a way that not a lot of kids get that. So it's not a negative aspect. It's just in our relationships sometimes it can get to where we get divorced, because our energies are so switched. And so that's one of the biggest things we had to come to terms with when we got divorced, was that. And so, that has been one of the biggest healing modalities. We haven't done it a lot. We've done it 5 times. And so I wouldn't say that we're seasoned in it by any means, but it's definitely changed our lives.
Yeah, it took me a year of research, and
he was afraid to do it. Yeah,
I did not want to do it at all, and so it took me a year, first of all, to agree to it and feel safe to be able to go do it. There, I'm using Robin's stupid word, but feel comfortable to go do that, and then when I did it, I'm like, whew, I made it to the other end. I'm good. And so every time she's like, oh, we should go try that again.
It's coming up again. I think we.
No.
Do we have to?
I have to prepare myself mentally, because I do, when I go do this, I want to check in with myself to see hey, I know I need to heal this part, or I need to look more deeper into this part of me and healing this, and then I spiritually focus on that, so that when I go in to take the medicine, that I'm working on and healing what my intention is to heal. So become a better human being. So, and love everybody, and love you. I love everybody, even my haters. I love you guys.
So
you really don't hate me deep down, I promise.
Yeah, no,
even Alice loves me.
Even Alice loves you? Oh gosh.
From a distance, just like that. Sorry.
And somebody says, I've been wanting to do that, so thanks for answering. I Googled places, but afraid to pick a place. You can email us personally, and we'll tell you like where we did it and where I would recommend, where we'll probably go do it on our next adventure. And so feel free to email me on that. Let's see if I can catch up a little bit. Somebody says my marriage. Oh shoot! I wanted to get back to that one and it skipped. Oh crap! My marriage and my life needed guidance and a breakthrough. I'm not I'm afraid to seek out a resort, but hearing nothing but positive accolades from this therapy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And it really does matter. Set and setting really does matter.
Yeah.
Do your research, find out what resonates with you. If one particular place resonates with you, listen to that and go to that. Because for us, for us, it had to be legal. For Corey,
Mm-hmm.
it had to be legal. Corey had a long list of things that it had to be, and I wanted him to come and feel, I know, here I go using that word again. I wanted him to come and feel safe, that he wasn't breaking the law, that he wasn't doing anything that would be considered illegal. So for us, that was really important. So then I had to do a lot more research on where to go and where we could make it, so that it was, I was in the right mode of therapy and he was in the right mode of healing. And so so it worked for both of us. Let's see. Somebody says, I've been a trip sitter many times. It can be scary, but it's beautiful if you are around the right setting. Yep.
Setting is
calm, safe, and healing.
Is the most amazing part.
And that's awesome. That's awesome that you have done that. So I've gone back to, we've done a couple of different healing modalities, and I've gone back and done, assisted and stuff like that. And there's just something about going through your own experience and then being able to turn around and give a helping hand out to someone else. There's something to be said about that. Welcome, Stephanie. She says, I finally caught alive. Ancient Egyptian architect, do you know how to build a pyramid? Ancient builders are up to a point. It's a joke. Now you caught his attention.
Okay.
Ancient Egyptian architect, do you know how to build a pyramid? The ancient Egyptian builder says, well, yeah, to a point. Great.
Excellent.
Arm this guy with some more
excellent
damage. Yep. Let's see. You're doing good, Mel.
My children love this.
Yeah. It says you're doing good, Mel. Not all of us have fast-track ADHD minds. The struggle is real for those of us who do. It really is. Mine's slowing down a lot more. It's funny because I have slowed down so much, and I think a lot of it is the early onset of dementia. I start to feel it with my hearing. And so it's so funny because I feel like a totally different person. Corey's like, now you know what the average person feels all the time. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible. I can't think. I used to be able to do 10 things at once, and now I can barely focus on one. Yeah, I do take my hearing aids out when I want to ignore let's see, oldest joke about turning hearing aids off. Yeah, my GPA says to do it. It's true. I do leave them out sometimes. My kids will come all over for dinner, and they'll be like, you don't have your hearing aids in, do you, Mom? I've said something to you 3 times and you can't hear me. Let's see. Let's try to.
I know we're so far behind. I don't know where the.
I know, I don't either. We're going to try to catch up a little bit. The biggest gift. Okay, I totally agree with this. The biggest gift is when you can see your parents' humanity. Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with that. And I had a huge experience with my mom during ayahuasca, and Corey had a huge experience about his dad. Mm-hmm. And so it is being able to see that humanity side of your parents, because we do put our parents in a God file. And so we look at them as when they make mistakes, and they shouldn't be able to, because they should be infallible, and they're not. And it is so much easier to have love and compassion. Now everybody loves you, Corey.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to. It says, your sister says, I feel comfortable saying the whole family is proud of you. Both of you are doing amazing. Love you all to the moon. Oh, we love you too. I meant to make you a moderator on this live, and I forgot, and I don't know how to do all that. I got to learn how to do it all. Let's see. And now here we are at 5:30. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Can you believe that? It goes by so fast. Yeah. So we do appreciate it. We'll probably wrap up the live. We'll try to catch up on the rest of these comments here, but we do appreciate it. We do want to be able to have time to film our recap of what we watched on this. I guess it's not really a tell-all, but it was like the end of the season special, and then Robin's honeymoon. And so, yeah, I definitely want to have time to film that tonight, because we watched it last night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can barely remember why I walked into a room, let alone remember an episode.
We need to do it before. I don't want to have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Torture.
No. So yeah, I really appreciate everybody's love and appreciations and acceptance. Like, honestly, we really do. And we did come into this one with maybe me more than Corey, a little bit smidge of just like, you know, internet trolls. I always knew that they're going to be out there, but sometimes it's just exhausting. So I do appreciate everybody's appreciations for that. And so we are going to, yeah, Corey is like Janelle, you're like Christine. That's funny, because normally I'm told that I'm like Janelle, very methodical and thinking more than that. Somebody says I could listen.
The snarky humor.
Yeah. Somebody says they could listen for another
snarky humor. Sorry.
2.5 hours. Absolutely love your content. You're both such lovely people. Oh, thank you. What were you gonna say?
I just feel like Christine does a lot of the snarky humor, especially in that first season. So there was a lot of good little undercuts there. So.
She does. What's funny too.
And she stops though. She does the snark, and then you're like, oh. I can read her mind. She's taking it to that next level, and she's like, no, that'll work. We'll move on.
And that's what. So he's like, listen how snarky Christine is. I'm like, yes, I see that, but I don't feel like she does it with malice or ill intent. It's hilarious because at one point Robin.
Let's just put her back in her place.
Yeah, she's like they're in a shop trying on clothes or whatever, and then Robin's like, yeah, or Christine's like, yeah, don't wear that. Your top gives it no and. Robin's like, wow, point out all my flaws.
No, it's not top. She's like, what's upstairs isn't
going
to cover it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, my top. And, no, upstairs. And there's nothing really there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's where I was going with that snarkiness. But she doesn't. It's just, she's coming in being I know everything about being a sister wife. And Christine's like, no,
well, do you now? And I love it too because Christine's like, oh, are you insecure about that? Or, you know, and she's like, I don't know why you're insecure about that. It's so funny. Somebody says Christine can do a bless your heart very well.
Yes, she can.
So well.
Got amazing.
She's got it down so good. So anyways, we think we're going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you guys so much for all the appreciation. We're almost to our 10,000 goal. And I don't know why. I just am going to be so excited about that. We're going to think of something really, really good to do at the end of that. Maybe we'll come out why Corey's and Robin's dad split up. I don't know. That one's our most asked question. It's so funny. Like, what was the falling out between Corey's dad and Robin's dad? And so maybe we'll do a live or answer some questions around that when we hit our 10,000 goal.
Maybe. I thought I already answered that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll go into more detail about it.
Okay, yeah, I'll go into more detail.
But right. But
yeah, questions on it.
So if you haven't liked our channel, please like, subscribe, share all of the fun things that you do on YouTube. And we really appreciate all of the love and support that we've gotten this far. And we are going to try to go live we were going to try to go live with my mom last weekend. And we just, like I said, we had a medical emergency in our family and we weren't able to do it. But she is coming up next weekend. So maybe I'll be able to get her to do something next weekend. And then we can, move from there. And then my sister called and she's loved doing a live with us and she's like, let's do another one. That was so much fun. So we will probably be doing another live with Emily. And Corey promises not to knock down
I'll stay quiet.
The closet door or rustle papers in the background when we do it.
I'll come on there and be snarky online with you guys. This will be fun.
Right. So hopefully, we're going to go ahead and record the, and then we'll get that uploaded really quick. Hopefully that can still sidetrack everybody from all the political crap that's going on tonight. Yeah. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. Guys. We appreciate it. Have a good night.